All right, everyone, we're live. We're going to be debating today stuff about a certain famous CK and then Mr. Yourofsky and his return to the animal rights movement. As it happens, I'm joined by another famous CK today, Catherine Klein. Catherine, you've been on a few times before. We've had the odd debate. Did you want to just introduce yourself to my audience for anyone who doesn't know about you?
Sure. I mean, I have a YouTube channel focused on animal rights and intersectionality, human rights, anti-capitalism. And yeah, we've discussed our views in depth on intersectionality, which I'm sure will come up a little bit in this debate.
I never mentioned it. What are you talking about?
Also, we had a debate on Israel-Palestine, which I'm sure will also come up, but we're gonna not get stuck on that topic since we had an entire debate dedicated to that topic in the past. So yeah, today's debate, we want to talk about Charlie Kirk, whether or not he was fascist, and a little bit about Gary Yourofsky as well. So.
Yeah, so I think this started off because I did a video a few months back talking about the death of Charlie Kirk and why it matters to me, and also why I think it actually matters to the movement and to wider society. And then I think you'd put maybe in the comments section somewhere, because someone had said he was a fascist, and I said he obviously wasn't a fascist. And then you said something like, while I don't agree with him being murdered, he absolutely was a fascist. And then you said, let's debate this and also stuff about Gary.
Well, I believe you said I wouldn't. I would hide away and refuse to debate.
I didn't say that.
You did say that in a comment.
No, I didn't.
In your video, I think you said in the video maybe that you think I will probably avoid coming on your stream, even though you invited me. But here we are.
I honestly don't remember saying that, and it doesn't sound like the sort of thing I would say, unless I was like trolling and just trying to be a dick. But I obviously don't mean that. I know you come on all the time. So, right. Well, let me give you my take on the whole Kirk thing. So, when it comes to animals, I fully agree with you on there. Kirk was a fascist, right? When it comes to animals, Kirk was a fascist. He oppressed them. He spread alt-right bullshit about soy boy and the soy is making us weaker and all this crap about anti-lab meat and all this kind of stuff. When it comes to humans, though, I think that Kirk was probably one of the great anti-fascist speakers of our time. And I think he wasn't even a great debater, but I think he was a very prominent anti-fascist. And I think the only reason people will disagree with me saying that, or think that sounds silly, is because the left has manipulated the term of fascism so much over the years to bend to their own narrative that they've kind of made it sound funny if you say that someone who very, very clearly had anti-fascist values was not a fascist. So for me, this wasn't so much a war of like, when he was murdered, it wasn't so much like an anti-fascist murder that this Tyler Robinson did. This seemed to me to be a war of the weird against the normal. To me, Charlie Kirk just represented the average normal American. He just has the same normie views as your mum, your dad, your uncle, your friends you grew up with, your teachers back then, not the teachers on the college campuses now. But I think he just represented the views of the everyday American. And then this sick, furry-loving freak, Tyler Robinson, put a bullet in him. They found all sorts of sordid stuff on his laptop. And I think that's what's going on here. I think it's that we're now in a time where people are being murdered and called fascists just for being normal. That's my take on Kirk. But I'll let you present why you believe he otherwise and why you think he was a fascist.
Sure. And on the note of, Tyler Robinson, I'm not going to claim to know. Like, we don't know. Like, he hasn't been convicted, right? Like, are you going to trust the FBI under Kash Patel? Like, we don't know what this guy like if this guy killed him.
We do. We can be pretty sure.
So you believe those text threads?
Yeah. Well, like, okay. I mean, I believe it as much as you guys believe Derek Chauvin was guilty of the George Floyd thing. I don't know. Why did you trust the police when Derek Chauvin was arrested? Like, people were saying that before the Chauvin was even in the courtroom.
Chauvin was convicted, though. Tyler Robinson hasn't been. Am I wrong? Was he already convicted?
No. What I'm saying is you guys were saying Chauvin was guilty and he did it before he was even in the courtroom. So how is this different?
We had a literal video of him doing it.
We have evidence of Tyler Robinson saying to his own family that he did it.
We don't. Okay. Anyways, I just don't want to get like. I just don't want this to turn into like a speculation of like we don't know yet. So it hasn't completely unfolded. So that's all I'm trying to say.
So you believe that Robinson was like a patsy or something?
No, I don't. I'm completely agnostic. I'm not saying I don't know. But
all right, fair enough.
Anyways, I wanted to back up to what you were saying about Charlie Kirk being like mainstream. But first I want to just define fascism here. Hold on. So I think it's really important that we start by defining our terms. So fascism is defined as a far-right authoritarian and ultranationalist political ideology characterized by support for a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived interest of the nation or race, and strong regimentation of society and the economy. So this is distinct from standard conservatism, which seeks to preserve traditional institutions and like customs, values, whatever. So conservatives are more status quo defenders. They're open to gradual reform, but they're averse to revolutionary thinking, whether it be from the left or the right. And obviously that's on a spectrum. So like I would put Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton in this category, as well as vocal anti-Trump Republicans. But fascists are obsessed with this idea of like national purity and rebirth, and they want to destroy the system and replace it with an authoritarian one. So I would put anyone who still supports Trump, who is a textbook fascist, in this category. And Charlie Kirk checked every single box. So you can say that he's, a normal conservative, but that doesn't take into consideration like the Overton window has shifted so far to the right in this country that like the modern Republican Party is fascist. So like, yes, he is a normie, but like our country is currently run by fascists. So that doesn't make him not a fascist.
No, I think America's far from fascism. In fact, I think it's stuck to its anti-fascist principles. So firstly, I do agree with the definition you used a moment ago, although I would say it's slightly restrictive. I would say it also means like state control of everything. So like state control of media and all that kind of stuff. I can read out my list. And I also believe it has stuff to do with Jewish self-determination as well.
Wait, why? You're conflating like Nazism with fascism.
Well, Nazism is a form of fascism, but pretty much all fascist countries are against Jewish self-determination.
Well, no, you can have fascism without like specifically anti-Semitism. Like you could have fascism where the victims are like insert some other marginalized group. Like Nazism is just a specific brand of fascism.
The thing is, I haven't seen a fascist government that believes in Jewish self-determination. They pretty much all believe in, although you would disagree because you think your own government is. But every single time I've seen fascists throughout history, they've had some kind of opposition to like a Jewish state, because they tend to really praise the idea of like a strong like Islamic Middle East.
Nowhere in the definition that I just gave does it say specifics, like what group specifically. It just says belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interest for the perceived interest of their nation or race. It's not like who is being scapegoated is not like part of the definition.
Well, I guess it's important to my definition because I believe that the whole anti-Israel stuff is largely Iran-backed literal fascism and fascist propaganda. So, like, I can't actually see a way that, for me, that the two have to actually kind of go hand in hand. It kind of stems from Nazism. I know we weren't going to wade too much into the Israel-Palestine thing today, but okay, let's just grant that. Let's just say that you're right about that. I mean, for me, it's quite an important part of fascism. But I'll read out my list of reasons why, for me, Charlie Kirk was an anti-fascist, and why I just think that this word now has just become completely meaningless. You okay for me to do that?
Sure.
So, yeah, firstly, Kirk was massively pro-gun, Second Amendment. Now, the first thing a fascist government does when they come into power is to disarm its citizens. Charlie Kirk was massively against that, and he wanted the Second Amendment to protect against government tyranny. Kirk was anti-abortion and anti-eugenics. Now, you know what the left is like with fucking abortion. Bloody hell, it's like, you know, the baby has Down syndrome. They must be eradicated from the gene pool. And then you've got, he was pro small government and pro free market. So he didn't believe in like state control of stuff. And he was capitalist rather than, he believed in like a free market. He was pro freedom of speech. The core tenet of fascism is being against freedom of speech, pro censorship. He said government should stay out of people's bedrooms. All fascist dictatorships believe it's basically their business what goes on in the bedroom of like a consenting couple, like with, so for example, with homosexuality and whatnot. He said that's none of the state's business and none of his business. He supported Jewish self-determination, which obviously you reject. But for me, that's clearly anti-fascist because he's rejecting the Iranian regime. He was a critic of Islam. Fascists are very much drawn to Islam because of its dominance and authority, hierarchy, you know, this masculinity. In fact, Hitler was a big critic of Christianity for its, you know, meek and mildness and, oh, love thy neighbor and stuff. And he really adored a lot of aspects about Islam and wanted Germany to be more like a Middle Eastern country in many ways. He said his religion taught him to love and to forgive everyone. He was against racialism. So, you know, again, these leftist colleges, they have critical race theory and your race is the most important thing to you and it dictates every little aspect of your life. And Kirk was obviously massively against that. He wanted the Republican Party open to all. Obviously, fascists believe in a very, like, only certain people are allowed in our party. He spoke out against biblical literal interpretation. Fascists believe in very strong authoritarian interpretation of things. I say interpretation, they don't really agree with interpretation at all. And he was against medical totalitarianism and the whole papers, please society that we saw under the fascist Trudeau. If you disagree with my vaccine mandates, I will freeze your bank accounts. So for me, that is just like boom, boom, boom. I think I've given a massive list here of just why it's absolutely ridiculous that anyone would think Kirk is a fascist. These are just clearly very, very anti-fascist things. If he was living in a fascist country, he would be seen as like a, as like a rebel against the state, against that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I would say, first of all, again, the definition of fascism doesn't have like specifics as far as like what views, like who you deem to be the problem, right? So like just because he was not anti-Semitic, that doesn't mean he's not a fascist, because like there's nowhere in the definition that talks about like which specific groups you're scapegoating. It's just a matter of if you are scapegoating marginalized groups. Anyways, the example, a lot of the examples you gave, there's a difference between like your nominal politics and your effective politics. So like you can say that you're pro free speech, but like, are you actually? And you can say that you're not a fascist and speak against fascism, but like, are you actually not a fascist? Okay, I don't care what someone says they are. I look at what they are actually doing and whether it fits the definition of fascism. So you just, listed all your reasons for why you think that he is not a fascist. I just want to share all of the reasons I think he is a fascist.
Sure.
So we went through the definition. So just like point by point, I want to go through each of those factors. So whether he's far right. Okay, we already talked about that. Like the Overton window has shifted so far to the right that like the entire modern party that supports Trump is fascist. So just because you can name people who are further to his right, like Nick Fuentes, doesn't mean he's not fascist. That just means he's not like a literal Nazi. And then as far as, okay, so he's authoritarian in his support for Donald Trump, who is a dictatorial leader. And I can get into all my reasons for why Donald Trump is a fascist if you'd like. He promoted the stolen election conspiracy and downplayed, I'm talking about Charlie Kirk here, downplayed the J6 insurrection. He advocated for Christian nationalism. He was a strong defender of the modern Republican Party, which is quickly approaching autocracy. He supported militarism, calling for a full military occupation of American cities until crime desists. Quote, we got to go hard. We got to go big league. We're talking National Guard, tanks, every street, you need military. He advocated for the forcible suppression of opposition, calling for Mehdi Hassan to be deported and deplatformed over his views on COVID-19. Calling him a neurotic lunatic and saying, send him back to the country he came from. Holy cow, get him off TV, revoke his visa. He also called Ilhan Omar a terrorist sympathizer and called for her deportation. He promoted anti-intellectualism, and that's like a key thing with fascists. Hold on one second. So he was constantly vilifying like academic institutions as radical leftist indoctrination camps, discouraging people from going to college, calling it a scam. Turning Point USA launched a professor watch list to monitor professors who supposedly discriminate against conservative students and advance leftist propaganda in the classroom. He certainly held a belief in a natural social hierarchy, advocating for traditional family values and demonizing people of color and the LGBT community. He implored Taylor Swift to submit to Travis Kelce when their engagement was announced, saying, reject feminism, submit to your husband, Taylor, you're not in charge. He said, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. And he also said that we need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. He also supported the subordination of individual interests for the perceived interest of the nation or race. So in his opposition to gay marriage, gender-affirming care, immigration, quote, America was at its peak when we halted immigration for 40 years and we dropped our foreign-born percentage to its lowest level ever. We should be unafraid to do that. He also supported a strong regimentation of society, given that he was a Christian nationalist who was against the separation of church and state and wanted to ban abortion, gay marriage, gender-affirming care, and immigration. So yeah, every single box, like literally every box he checks.
Yeah, well, I don't think most of those actually are fascism. Most of those are just normie principles. Those are just normie conservative things. The only one
you literally said you agreed, like I shared my definition of fascism, and the only thing you had, the only problem you had was like whether or not it was like anti-Semitic.
No, but you could just say that by that definition, by the definition you gave, loads of people on the left are fascist as well. It has to be a little bit more expansive than that. And it has to be extreme versions of the things you said. It can't just be like, oh, he opposed gay marriage, or he opposed kids being given puberty blockers or something, or he opposes abortion. These are just like standard normie, like these are things your mum or your dad believes.
But he supports a dictator and like
Joe Biden?
like Who?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden was not ruling like a dictator like Donald Trump is.
Well, his administration was trying to censor memes. They had a totalitarian control, like they were trying to exert totalitarian control over the fucking internet, like North Korea. They were literally trying to shut down COVID disinformation.
What do you think Donald Trump, like, how are you comparing? If you have a problem with Joe, which I do, I actually do have a problem with Joe Biden. Okay.
Yeah, who supported ICE as well, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I don't like Joe Biden.
And where would you say Joe Biden sits on the political spectrum? Is he a fascist?
No, I think he's a conservative.
I would say he's more of a fascist than Trump is.
Okay, you want to go there?
Yeah, and I've got a whole list of racist quotes
Donald
he said
Trump,
as well.
Donald Trump, first of all, his campaign slogan is textbook fascist, like "Make America Great Again." That's like what fascists do, is they create this mythical, like, nostalgia for this mythical past. Like, when was America great? When exactly?
Build back better. Joe Biden didn't say build forward better. He said build back better. The way things used to be in the old days. We need to return to those days.
I'm not there. You will not catch me defending Joe Biden at all. But if you're going to say, if you're going to claim that Joe Biden was a fascist, you have absolutely no leg to stand on.
Yeah, look. I said
Donald Trump is like a textbook fascist, checks every single box.
No, he doesn't at all.
Let's go through it. Okay, so we went through the definition for Charlie.
But Catherine, as I say, we'll just go around in circles here, because with the definition you gave and the stuff that you're reading out, these are just things, again, that normies and even people on the left, everything believe. But you have to have very extreme versions of these views to be fascist. It can't just be like, he opposes abortion, he rejects gender-affirming care, he opposes gay marriage. These are just
I was going through the specific characteristics of fascism, which you're right, there are overlaps, like between conservatism and fascism. A lot of things overlap.
But probably believe in some of those things on the list.
No, all conservatives don't support a dictatorial leader. Like the anti-Trump conservatives, yes, they hold views that overlap with fascism that I disagree with. Like, they want to ban abortion, for example. But just because you want to ban abortion doesn't make you a fascist. You have to also support like autocracy and ultranationalism and a dictator. Like, he checks every single box.
Does this sound like a fascist to you? Saying to someone, God made you perfect the way you are.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
That's what Charlie Kirk used to tell people.
Okay, people can contradict themselves. People can say things that contradict other things they say. Like, he can say that, but then if he supports banning gender-affirming care, like, that's
consistent with what he said.
Okay, you can believe. You are free to fucking believe and be a transphobe. But like to insist on everyone else living that way and like not supporting the separation of church and state, like, that is authoritarian.
To what extent did he not I mean, from what I gather, he was quite secular. And again, he said that the state has no business in people's bedrooms and stuff. He said gay people are welcome in the Republican Party. Just none of this to me sounds... he sounds like a pretty secular guy to me.
There was a quote, I would have to pull it up. There was a quote related to like separation of church and state where he rejects it. Like, he is a Christian nationalist. And he wants to impose Christian nationalism on the rest of the country for the perceived interest of the nation or race. Like, he doesn't believe that women and gay people and trans people like should have the ability to get married or, transition. Like, he thinks those things should be banned.
No, but I don't think he
That's
ever
not
spoke
secular.
out against. He didn't speak out against civil unions or gay relationships. He believed in banning gay marriage specifically on a Christian basis, which is just a normie conservative view and the standard Muslim view that every leftist defends.
What the fuck are you talking about? What leftist defends anti-gay marriage?
Well, they defend Islam and they don't say shit about Muslims believing any of these things. In fact, can I ask you, Catherine?
They don't defend conservative Islam. Like they defend
do.
Muslims.
They don't
as
touch
people.
it with a fucking barge pole, Catherine. And they
defend
dismiss.
Muslims as people when they're being oppressed. They don't defend Islamic theocracy. Like
they completely downplay the idea that Islam has these tenets. They pretend there is no problem. They literally sweep any problem with Islamic immigration under the carpet and just call anyone a bigot or a racist.
They call out bigotry when people are conflating all Muslims with like Islamists and fucking like Islamic fundamentalists.
Well, it's not Islamic fundamentalism. 98% of Muslims have beliefs that are completely counter to all this stuff leftists are lecturing us for and calling Charlie Kirk a fascist for. Can I ask you actually, Catherine, do you believe that Palestinians are fascists?
I mean, depends on like what their views are, but yeah, they could be, sure.
So then what, like, do you think it would be
they're not in power? They don't have power.
Well, all Muslim governments are in power across the Middle East.
Okay, if there's a Muslim government that is in power and is enacting fascism, then yes, I'm going to denounce that.
Well, that's the government Palestinians voted for with Hamas, and they'll continue to vote for it because it's in Muslims' interest to vote for these policies that you're condemning Charlie Kirk for. Muslims have Charlie Kirk's views, but on steroids. If Charlie Kirk went to Palestine, he'd be the biggest SJW there. They'd be like, who is this kuffar spreading LGBT propaganda in the land? He says that gay people are welcome in the Conservative Party. Gay people aren't human. That's what they would say in Palestine.
So you seem to think that you're so against this, like, what happened to Charlie Kirk, which, I condone, or not, I condemn. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't condone Charlie Kirk's murder. And you are so upset, like, what this means for, like, political discourse, and, like, you're so opposed to political violence, supposedly. Mm-hmm. Yet you're okay with, like, fucking genociding an entire population because they hold conservative views that I disagree with. I don't think that they should be.
I want to genocide an entire population.
You are a raging Zionist. Like, we've talked about this before. We don't need to go back there.
I largely don't believe there's such thing as a Zionist. And the term Zionist as a slur, by the way, and Zio especially, was popularized by David Duke from the fucking KKK. The whole Zio thing, and this person's a Zionist, there's like an insult, is largely actually a fascist term. And I refuse to use it. Do you know, Catherine, if I was appointed leader of Hamas tomorrow, there'd be peace in the Middle East and not one single Palestinian more would die. Not a single one. I'd end it. If they put me in charge of Hamas, it would be over.
Okay.
So why do you say that I want a genocide?
How would you end? How would it be over?
So first of all, I would accept a two-state solution with Israel. I would stop this flag-waving nonsense about this is our land, this is blah, 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 this is the land of Allah, and you have the Jews must go back to Poland and all this crap that they spread. I would obviously advocate for a secular government, would not discriminate against anyone based on who they are. And there would just be a truce with Israel tomorrow under my leadership of Hamas. I would get the military to lay down its arms. I would launch an investigation to convict both Hamas and IDF war criminals for their crimes, put them all on trial.
So why don't you support a one-state solution? Why wouldn't you do that instead?
A one-state solution?
Yeah, it seems like you value peace over justice. You just want the violence to stop, but you don't actually want justice for Palestinians whose land was stolen. But again, we're going down.
Well, it wasn't their land, Catherine, and people should. This is just ethno-nationalism.
This is where we didn't want to go. We both agreed to go.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Anyways, I just think it's rich that you think that Joe Biden was a fascist.
Okay, hold on.
Donald Trump is. Excuse me.
I said Joe Biden was a fascist in jest. I just think that he was more of a fascist than Trump is.
Well, I think that's completely deranged. Okay, so Donald Trump. Let's go through the list again. The campaign slogan, textbook fascism. He is most certainly far right because he refuses to explicitly disavow extremist groups. He said there were very fine people on both sides after a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville turned violent.
And then what did he say?
He told very fine people on both sides.
No, that's the bit the media cherry picked from that speech. And then what did he say?
He can talk out of both sides of his mouth, but like
See, this is the level you guys go to. He's condemned racism more times than any other president. He literally said in that speech, racism is evil.
Out of both sides of your mouth is not a clear disavowal. A clear disavowal is saying, I condemn these groups full stop, and then not saying there are very fine people on both sides. Like, you can't saying something racist,
Catherine,
racist and then following it up with I condemn racism doesn't erase the racist thing you just said.
Catherine, I've got the clip of him saying he didn't mean the KKK or the far right people or the Nazis when he said
he's talking about the people at the rally, which was a white supremacist rally.
But there were a few people there who were not.
If you are attending a white supremacist rally, you are a racist.
There were some people who didn't know who all those people were.
If you are stupid enough to attend a white supremacist rally, there's no defending these people.
In any case, Trump condemned them. He said racism is evil and those who espouse violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and all other hate groups. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal.
Again, you can say that, but that does not erase the racist shit that he said. Like, he talks out of both sides of his mouth. That talking out of both sides of your mouth is not.
It will never be enough for you people. He can condemn racism publicly hundreds of times. I've got a 5-minute clip of him.
Racist shit. It's not sincere if you condemn something when you continue to then spew racist shit. Okay, it's not sincere if you talk out of both sides of your mouth. Anyways, he also told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, which they later used as a rallying slogan. And he has retweeted and amplified accounts tied to extremist movements like QAnon. Okay, so clearly he's far right. There's no getting around that. He's also extremely authoritarian and dictatorial in the fact that he denies the results of the 2020 election.
Well, I think it was rigged as well. I think it was rigged.
Okay, well, you are, of course you think that because you support Trump. He repeatedly claims the election was rigged even after it was disproven in court. He cries election fraud while committing election fraud himself, pressuring state officials to find votes and overturn the election results. He refused to commit to the peaceful transition of power, inciting an insurrection, encouraging his supporters to fight like hell.
No,
and then
he's suing the BBC for that. He's literally, there's an ongoing.
His mouth.
No,
he
Catherine.
talks out of both sides of his mouth.
No, yes, what you guys do is you cherry pick. This is classic BBC.
No, I recognize.
He's suing the shit out of the BBC right now.
George, I recognize that he says things that contradict the other things he says. That's why, he has plausible deniability or whatever with I didn't incite the insurrection because I also said whatever. But the things that he said were inciting like an insurrection, like saying stand back and stand by, fight like hell, telling like there's clear evidence that he did. And then the fact that he pardoned them all when he was back in office. What does that tell you?
Well, Joe Biden pardoned his own son. Just talk about nepotism.
Joe Biden, yes, I don't support that. Why do you keep acting like I support Joe Biden? But pardoning your own son is very different from pardoning hundreds of violent insurrectionists. Okay. And then, not only that, so this is just the list of things that make him authoritarian and dictatorial. He hints at staying in office repeatedly, despite the 2-term limit, and promotes Trump 2028 merch, and also expresses admiration for authoritarian leaders like Putin and Kim Jong-un. He is ultranationalist, again, another tenet of fascism. He has extreme views and policies on immigration, with his border wall, his Muslim travel ban, etc. Says that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country, and tried to ban flag burning. If that's not ultranationalism, I don't know what is.
Well, yeah,
centralized. What?
I do disavow, obviously, Trump's stuff about flags and the idea that NFL players should be fired for taking the knee at flags and stuff like that. So I do agree there's certain stuff of his that I would deem to be ultra authoritarian for sure.
Like,
but I think
saying immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country.
Well, he didn't say that about again. Oh, well, you'll just say now when I come back with something he said that's the opposite of that, you'll just say talking out of both sides of your mouth. So what's even the point?
George, if somebody is talking out of both sides of your mouth, like you're not being sincere when you say it's not an explicit disavowal. That's my point. Like if you're an explicit disavowal, like a genuine apology, you're just going to say, I disavow these groups, full stop, period. You're not going to then say, but, and then say, oh, immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. Like that's not.
But you've obviously taken something he said massively out of context. Of course, he doesn't think all immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. He's pro-immigration.
Donald Trump is pro-immigration.
Yes. Has he banned immigration, Catherine?
So in order to be pro-immigration...
Or even his wife is an immigrant.
Yeah, he's fine with immigrants from white countries. Do we need to go back to his quote about shithole countries? Why are we letting all these people from shithole countries into our country? Why can't we have people from Sweden enter our country? Like, he's so fucking racist. It's like, to deny his racism.
Well, that's nothing to do with race. That's to do with culture and crime and stuff like that.
Okay. That has nothing to do with race.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? What is the difference?
Well, he would have to mention their skin color or their ethnicity.
Okay,
some countries suck, George, Catherine, and he just says the quiet part out loud. He says the quiet part out loud that a lot of Americans think.
George, in your view, in order for someone to be racist, they must explicitly and openly call themselves, like announce that they are a racist and they're proud to be racist. That is not what makes someone racist. What makes someone racist is their like claims. They can deny the fact that they're racist, but like when you're talking about
not
immigrants
a mind reader. You don't have mind reading powers.
Black and brown countries, like legal Haitian immigrants. Oh, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. He talks about like anyone coming from the southern border, which are brown people, anyone coming from Africa, most of which are black people. Like he doesn't want those people. He only wants the people coming from majority white countries in Europe. Did he say? Like, it's not subtle. Catherine, it's not fucking subtle.
What did he say about the border wall, about Mexico?
They're criminals. They're rapists. I assume some are good people.
And then what did he say? He said, and I want a big, beautiful door on that wall to make sure we're getting the best people. And he says, I love the Mexican people. That's what he said in that speech.
Okay, again, talking out of both sides of his mouth.
This is just your rebuttal. Whenever you cherry pick something, you just go, oh, talking out of both sides of his mouth. So you'll say something Trump said. I'll then say that, like, look, that isn't clear. You're making a clearly sweeping generalization about him to like slander him. And he obviously doesn't hold those exact beliefs. Then you'll just say talking out of both sides of your mouth.
No, George, he said they're criminals, they're rapists. I assume some are good people. That is a generalization. He's saying that the majority are criminals and rapists, which is not fucking true. He's
talking about the problem you have where you have people pouring over the border and being in gangs like MS-13. Your people are being butchered in the streets right now by MS-13 gang members. Trump says, go on.
George, you are falling for so much like right-wing propaganda. You're
falling for left-wing propaganda.
We have evidence that the majority of immigrants, illegal immigrants, are not like committing crimes at high rates at all because they fear deportation.
But you'll still be more likely to be killed by one than ICE.
I'm more likely to be First of all, I don't know.
There's hundreds, possibly thousands of American women have been massacred by illegal immigrants.
I do not know if that's true. Okay.
Oh, I've got a big long list of them.
I'm sure you do.
I can read out their names.
You do.
Yeah, but I think do we want to go back to the Kirk thing now, or because I think we're talking about
no, because this is all relevant. This is all very relevant because my main argument with Charlie Kirk. I mean, we went through the list of he checks every box according to the definition of fascism. But like one of the key things here that differentiates Kirk from like regular conservatives is the fact that he was such a vocal and loyal Trump supporter. So like the fact we have to establish that Trump is a fascist. So I have to continue down this list. Okay. Centralized autocracy. So there are so many examples of executive overreach with Trump. Like, are you going to deny that he is like one of the most corrupt presidents of all time?
Well, I don't know to what extent he has been corrupt. There's stuff I guess I don't know.
So, and this is a non-exhaustive list. So there was the time where Congress has like the power of the purse, meaning they have the final say when it comes to funding. Trump just decided he declared a national emergency to bypass Congress when they refused to fund his border wall. And he does shit like this all the time. We're supposed to have checks and balances. Like each government agency has an inspectors general who serves as like a watchdog to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. And Trump will just routinely fire them for investigating him. He basically dismantled the EPA by putting fossil fuel lobbyists in charge. He doesn't want there to be any oversight or accountability. He stokes distrust of all independent media, calling the press the enemy of the people. Obviously, his strategy here is to delegitimize his critics since they can't actually he can't refute their actual claims. So he just writes them off as fake news.
Well, there is a big problem with legacy media in the States, but go on.
Of course, I have plenty of criticisms of like mainstream media, but to just distrust all independent media sources as the enemy of the people, that is textbook fascism. And he demands loyalty, like above all, like loyalty from the DOJ and the FBI. Like he put his own daughter and son-in-law in senior advisory roles. So if you're gonna get mad at Joe Biden for pardoning his son, like what the fuck is up with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner being in senior advisory roles? Yeah, if this is not autocracy, what is?
Yeah, so I imagine there's a whole list of stuff that every American president does that's deemed to be like authoritarian, whatever.
Yeah, but they're not checking every single goddamn box. and they're not as brazen as Donald Trump is.
Trump is not ticking every single box that he doesn't. When did he explicitly say he wants like state control of media? When did he say he completely wants to shut down free speech?
You don't have to. Of course, he's not going to come out. I mean, I do actually have examples of him being like, what's that phrase when you just say the quiet part out loud? Like, there are examples, but you're not just going to like openly say these things. It's not about what people openly profess. It's about what they're doing.
Catherine, look, if you want to build an argument that Charlie Kirk is a fascist because he votes Donald Trump, then that you voted Joe Biden in the last election. I can just say you're a racist because you voted Joe Biden. And Joe Biden is a massive fucking racist.
George, I don't have a career defending everything Joe Biden does and pledging my loyalty to him like Charlie Kirk did with Trump.
Because he sees it as the better
sycophant. He was a major Trump supporter.
Half of your country.
I am not a Biden supporter. So why do you keep
You are. You voted for him. You can't.
Voting for him is not the same as like voting for the lesser of two evils is not the same as being a Biden supporter. Like, I'm not Charlie Kirk. It's not just that he voted for Trump. It's that there are anti-Trump Republicans that probably voted for Trump. Okay. And yes, they're enabling fascism, but like, I'm not claiming that anti-Trump Republicans who voted for Trump are by definition fascist.
Yeah, and look, I believe the same about Charlie Kirk. I believe you can have a strong tie to a presidential candidate, but he didn't agree with literally. I'm sure he didn't agree with literally every single one of Trump's policies.
He doesn't have to. It's just like with Michael Knowles on Piers Morgan, where he's like, "Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes he's wrong, but like 99.7% of the time he's right." Like, sure, you can point to some examples of Charlie Kirk disagreeing with Donald Trump, but his career was defending Donald Trump. So, like, you're not gonna, like, those tiny examples where he disagrees with him are not, like he's a clear and vocal Trump supporter. Like, you're not gonna convince people otherwise. Like, there's...
Yeah, I know he was, because he wants the country to be taken back from the bullshit that the Democrats are doing.
And yeah, being a supporter of someone who is so brazenly like consolidating power and like ignoring the rules and dismantling like all of the oversight committees and like completely like that's...
Can you name one thing he did that's more authoritarian than, say, Justin Trudeau shutting down truckers' bank accounts because they didn't agree.
I am not going to defend Justin Trudeau. I'm not Canadian. I'm not going to defend authoritarianism wherever it's coming from.
But you guys go so hard on Trump being a fascist, and he hasn't even done anything as authoritarian as Trudeau. Biden had been tried to do.
I am going through a list of so many examples of his authoritarianism, and you point to one example of authoritarianism from Justin Trudeau, which I'm not defending, but that's like pales in comparison to all of the examples of Trump's brazen authoritarianism.
Would you say that someone in Canada who was rallying hard, so the equivalent of what Kirk is for Trump, let's say you had the equivalent of that, but for Trudeau, would you call that person a fascist?
So like being a dick rider for Trudeau.
Sure.
No, because Trudeau is not a fascist. He's a conservative.
He shut down people's fucking bank accounts because they opposed him.
He's a conservative who has done, again, I'm not going to comment.
He's a leftist progressive who shut down people's bank accounts because they opposed his COVID measures.
George, doing something authoritarian doesn't make you a fascist. Like, you have to, like, we're looking at the entire definition of fascism. Authoritarianism is like part of the definition, But like, just because someone does something authoritarian doesn't make them a fascist.
But
And I'm
I
not
think,
defending his authoritarian actions. So like,
but,
this is just like a diversion tactic. Like it.
But do you not think that the fact that someone has done something so corrupt and so authoritarian that you'd think was actually something from like a corrupt government from a non-Western country, that it was that bad what he did in Canada? Do you not think that crosses the line of anything that Trump has done? That it kind of makes it strange when people just come for Trump but not for Trudeau?
You are being so intellectually dishonest. Like, you're pointing to one example of something Trudeau did that I'm not defending, that I don't agree with. And I don't even know much about this, but I'm just conceding, like, okay, maybe it was an authoritarian measure, and I don't agree with authoritarianism. For you to bring that up in light of all of the examples I just gave, like, Trudeau is not doing all of these fucking things.
He probably is doing other things, or was doing other things, but just
he also does not check every single box of the definition of fascism like Donald Trump does. So for you to bring him up, like,
well, I don't think Trump does either.
It's so fucking dishonest. And I'm not done. Okay, so we're only like halfway through the characteristics of fascism that Trump does. So we have militarism. That's another characteristic. Trump's major crackdown on protesters, referring to peaceful protesters as terrorists, threatening to use the military. What?
No, I don't think he went hard enough during 2020. I think he should have gone much harder.
So you're in favor of deploying, because he deployed federal agents to Portland to break up crowds of protesters, using tear gas on them, grabbing people off the streets, detaining them without probable cause, throwing them in unmarked vehicles. You think they didn't go far enough?
Well, I don't, but I'm not sure I believe in every single little thing you said there, because there's a lot of propaganda. But yeah, if you look at, for example, in Minnesota and all those places, the rioting, where the police had to even stand down because they wouldn't even get support from the military in many cases, because it was just it was kind of like oh God, we can't do this. It will stoke racial tensions if we go hard, we get more police out on the streets. Watch the documentary, what's it called? The Fall of Minneapolis for this. Yeah, I think they should have had the military deployed in Minneapolis. There were people burning down cities.
George, this is the same playbook that like the animal agriculture industry uses. They want you to distrust protesters and activists, and so they feed you a bunch of propaganda and label them as terrorists so that you think that this militarism is justified.
It was domestic
that's terrorism. Literally what they do.
Well, yeah, it was domestic.
And you're
terrorism.
Falling for it. You're falling for it, George.
What have I fallen for, Catherine? People were beaten to death in the street.
Labeling. Falling. There are also agent provocateurs. Like, you can always point to examples of like legitimate leftist protesters who engage in violent behavior. Okay. But like a lot of times, the people at these protests that are engaging in that shit, like, are agitators. And also, the majority of the protesters there are peaceful, but you're falling for the right-wing propaganda of like labeling them all as fucking violent rioters when the majority are peaceful protesters. Well, like, that is what the animal agriculture industry does. They label animal rights activists as fucking terrorists. They throw people like Zoe Rosenberg into jail for terrorism and shit.
Well, she hasn't beaten anyone into a coma. She hasn't beaten anyone into a coma or carjacked anyone or say BLM or I'll fucking smack this 2x4 over your head. She hasn't beaten up old ladies in the street. She didn't strangle a white puppy with a lead. She didn't walk down the head with fucking severed pigs' heads. She didn't burn down a guy's business and then said donate to BLM or we'll do it again.
George, I'm sure you can find examples of like vegans doing crazy violent shit.
Yeah. But like, people
you
were
agree
in those riots,
you agree that to characterize vegan activists as terrorists and to support like tear gassing them and like bringing in the military, Like, that is
not normal protesters. I'm not talking about someone standing there waving a sign saying Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the thugs going through the streets. I'm not falling for anything, George, Catherine, because it happened. It happened, Catherine. Acknowledge it. 13 people were massacred during the orgy of blood and violence in 2020. Innocent animals there was a raccoon beaten with a baseball bat in the street as a representation of sellout black people. That's why they did it.
You will never catch me. They
strangled a white puppy with a lead.
You'll never catch me defending that behavior.
Yeah. What should the military have done with those people, Catherine, when they were battering that raccoon's head in with the baseball bat?
Yeah, those people should be stopped. But they're tear gassing innocent people and detaining them without probable cause.
With what force should those people have been stopped?
They should be detained.
I'd say lethal force.
And arrested.
Yeah, but if they're bashing in a little raccoon's head in with a baseball bat, or they're beating up an old lady with a 2x4, or I saw another horrific video, a dude just calling the police because they were smashing into a shop and looting it. They all come out and just beat the shit out of the guy because he was on the police. You need to use force. You can't just go around wave, hop into the police car here, sir. We'll take you down the station. Or what's your documents? You need the military deployed during 2020. Your country was in chaos. It was being burnt to the ground.
People have a right to a fair trial. We shouldn't just use military force against people.
No, but you can see them doing it there. You wouldn't say, if someone was holding your mum or dad hostage and the police get the sniper in and they're about to shoot your mum or dad, you wouldn't go give the guy a fair trial. You'd say, pull the fucking trigger. When they're there, they need to use force.
George, the majority of protesters are not like violent protesters, yet they're being treated as such.
You keep mischaracterizing my arguments, saying that I think every single one.
Okay, how are you going to defend what happened to Renee Good or Alex Preddy?
Well, the trials haven't happened yet, so we don't know.
We saw the fucking video, George. We saw the video.
Yeah, and you saw the video of Kyle Rittenhouse as well, and you got it wrong, didn't you? And Biden's administration and Zuckerberg, George, back when he was a massive cuck. Hold on, let me finish. They censored social media accounts saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent. You had to obey the mob that it was murder.
George, I don't know enough about Kyle Rittenhouse, but I genuinely didn't see the video. Okay, so we don't need to talk about him. If he was acquitted in court, then yeah, some people may have misinterpreted what happened. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But we all saw the video of Renee Good getting shot and of Alex Preddy getting shot. We all saw the video.
We saw the videos of Kyle Rittenhouse shooting 3 people dead. And the left said, this is murder. We saw the video. You can't deny it. How are you going to deny this one? Trumpists, blah, blah, blah. And then he was
the videos that we saw of Renee Good, she was not a threat.
Hang on, you're commenting on something we haven't even had. You started this debate by saying we don't even know if fucking Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
We don't have a fucking video of Charlie Robinson or whatever the fuck his name is.
We have the evidence. We have the video of him caught on camera. We have the stills of him with the rifle while he was there, him running off the roof, and then he told his own parents he did it.
We do not. That video, whatever video we have, is not as clear cut as the videos that we have of Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
Well, they're not very clear cut. We don't know in the chaos that's unfolding. We don't know what's going on. I'm not going to make a comment. I'm not going to make a comment on who is guilty or who is not on Alex Preddy or Renee Good. By the way, why does all this bullshit always come out of Minnesota? Why does the current thing always come out of Minnesota? Why is it never Nebraska? How come this never happens in fucking Nebraska or Delaware?
Nebraska has a population of 200 people. Anyways,
Florida doesn't. Again, why is this never happening in Florida? It's always Minnesota. They always push the current thing.
Non-point that you're making. I don't fucking know. It just
because all the chaos happens there because you have dodgy leftists in power there who are railing up all these people to incite chaos, and they end up getting killed.
This is just another what point are you trying? Why does it always happen in Minnesota? Like, what is the point you're trying to make?
Well, there's obviously something going on, isn't there? You don't
It's
see
not
the
only
coincidence
happening
there.
in Minnesota. There's also police brutality and shit that happens elsewhere. You're
No,
just
but
like,
why is
why
is the current thing always pushed from Minnesota and never Nebraska
it's
or
not.
Ohio?
What are you getting at? Like, what are you claiming?
Well, America's a very big country, Catherine. It has 300 and something million people. It's made up of 50 states.
What are you claiming specifically about Minnesota?
That there's always these weird things happen there that push the current thing. So first it's George Floyd.
So you think it's a fucking conspiracy rather than just like several high-profile cases have happened in Minnesota and you're just choosing to like
it's selective,
be a pattern. Like
selective outreach, selective focus, and selective behavior from the people there. You have a very radicalized population in Minnesota. Anyway, I think we've digressed massively from Charlie Kirk. So
no, I have to continue.
Oh,
I'm almost done. I swear to God, I'm almost done because this is relevant. I already explained why it was relevant. Because you think that it's ridiculous to claim that Charlie Kirk is fascist because of his support for Donald Trump. When Donald Trump is like so clearly fascist, it's not even funny. So like all of these examples of militarism, like he's also fucking trying to steal Venezuelan oil and kidnap their president, and he's
the Venezuelans support him. They believe he's removed a powerful dictator. Now I don't know enough about Maduro, so I'm not going to comment on that. But Venezuelans were partying in the streets when the US went in and seized Maduro.
There is just so many examples of Donald Trump's militarism, is my point.
Okay, but every US, you're the fucking USA. You're what the Middle East calls the Great Satan. You've always got militarism.
Yes.
Who do you vote for who's not militarism?
Again, George, I'm not like defending previous presidents like Obama and Joe Biden. Like I understand that they...
But by your logic, all of these presidents are ticking these boxes, Catherine.
No, they're not ticking all of these boxes.
I think they are.
They're not ticking every single one of these boxes to the same degree.
Yeah, I would say they are. I honestly don't see a difference.
You don't see a difference between the Obama administration and Trump's insane executive overreach. Putting all these corrupt ass billionaires in charge of like various agencies like the EPA.
Obama ran the biggest deportation drive in American history.
I'm aware. I'm not defending Obama.
Well, this is just your way to like get out of it.
Obama didn't fire a bunch of like inspectors generals left, right, and all the fucking time because they were doing their job.
Well, he would.
Obama didn't call the press the enemy of the people. Obama didn't demand loyalty from the DOJ and the FBI, and he didn't put his freaking family in senior advisory roles. He also didn't like do all these fucking executive orders and just like ignore checks and balances and like bypass.
Well, I'm sure he did a lot of these things in a way, but you might just not have picked up on it or know about it. And he was pro-military. I mean, he even look at the Bin Laden operation.
Obama was a status quo defender. He was like a conservative. He wasn't a fascist. He wasn't saying immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country.
Oh, he did say a lot of things.
He also didn't express admiration for authoritarian leaders. Like there's so many things. Like I understand that he checks some of the boxes because like
you haven't seen Obama shaking hands with like the Saudi royals. Why do you think 9/11 was even committed?
He wasn't openly praising them. Okay, George. Again, I'm not defending Obama.
Talking out of both sides of his mouth.
I think there's a lot of overlap between conservatism and fascism, and like liberals like Obama, you know, the whole scratch a liberal, a fascist bleeds. Like there's obviously overlap that I'm not denying. But like in order to be a fascist, you have to go further and you have to support like dictatorship. It's not just a matter of like did he do certain things?
I think it's a joke to say Trump has some kind of dictatorship. He's literally been put in court. He's been banned from social media platforms. Like, what is this dictatorship? Imagine this.
And he's pardoning
Catherine.
criminals, and he's like putting
every president pardons criminals. The ones that Trump has pardoned are the least biggest fucking criminals of all. Who was it who pardoned the guys who took part in the My Lai massacre in the 70s? Who was your president then? I can't even remember what he was. But the point is, this is what American leftists do. All these presidents do these fucking things that Trump does, but worse. And then you just pick on Trump.
George, you're doing the thing that you accuse leftists of doing, where you like conflate terms and you just say like, well, Joe Biden, if Trump is a fascist, Joe Biden's a fascist. It's like, there's a difference. There's overlap, which I've said like 20 times now. But there is a difference between being a standard conservative or a liberal and being a fascist. Like, there's a difference. And there's a difference between being a fascist and going as far as the Nazis did. Like, there's a difference. Like, I didn't claim Charlie Kirk was a literal Nazi. Like, I understand that
fascist has to have very strong, it's a strong term, and you're calling just a
I know, and I know exactly what it means, and I'm going through point by point with numerous examples of how Trump and Charlie Kirk fit the definition, check every single box.
Do you think all these people, hold on, at Charlie Kirk's like funeral service they had at that big stadium, do you think all those people like crying and lighting candles and clapping when Erica Kirk says, I forgive him about the murderer? Do you think all these people are fascists?
All the people that were at Charlie Kirk's funeral?
Yeah, because they support him and he's this big aide to Trump. Now, by your guilt by association, surely. Like, if you think
it's not about guilt by association. Like, I'm not going to claim that, like, because Charlie Kirk supported Finley, my dog is really trying to get my attention right now.
On the stream.
I think that they're likely fascists, yes, because at this point, if they're supporting Charlie Kirk, they're supporting Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is a fascist. And, like, yes.
Look, to me, this just defies all common sense, Catherine. Like, you're calling just a group of massively peaceful, loving people who forgive the murderer of the man in the name of Jesus, like this meek and mild, very compassionate way of living, this turn the other cheek that fascists despise. Again, they love really strong, like kind of like
for their in-group. Yeah, they have like empathy for their in-group.
No, they forgave their out-group. They were clapping when Erica Kirk forgave his murderer. They were clapping and crying. These are not fascists, nor is Charlie Kirk or his family. This is just insane. Like, this is the kind of shit that got him murdered, Catherine. And I'm not blaming you specifically, but this kind of rhetoric where you just whip up the idea that anyone who just has some spicy takes on things
well, okay, fair enough. Fair point. If there are people in the crowd who are like, say, like, forgiving the murderer of Charlie Kirk, perhaps they're not, like, I wouldn't go as far as to say they're fascist, but Donald Trump didn't. Remember what he said? He was like, I don't. He's like, he like came out.
Oh yeah, no,
said,
Kirk was a better man than I, and so is Erica. I agree with Trump. Yeah, I would have Tyler Robertson strung up by his fucking balls.
I don't understand how you can like clutch your pearls about political violence and then say shit like that.
Oh no, I support I support violence to extremely evil people. I don't support violence to innocent people.
Okay, so you're not, you do admit that you're not against political violence.
Well, it depends what you mean by political violence. If I support the death penalty for the most evil people, yeah. I don't support assassinating people for their opinions.
Okay, that's what we agree that Charlie Kirk's murder was wrong, because I also don't support assassinating people for their views. But like, I just think it's crazy to me that you are like so horrified by the left's response to Charlie Kirk's death.
It was disgraceful.
Then you'll say things like what you just said about the guy that killed him, like how like the
No, but this is the thing. I support bad things happening to evil people who have done very evil things. I don't support murdering people because they have a different opinion to me. In fact, I'd put Robinson to good use. We should use him in place of animals for animal testing.
Oh my God. Okay. So you don't agree with individual rights. You are definitely...
Yeah, I don't think human rights are inalienable. I would call them probably human privileges, actually. I think there's a certain thing, you should forfeit them at a certain stage. If you do something so evil, you give up your human rights.
Okay. Moving on. I feel like we need to talk about, I mean, we were almost through the list. You are going to probably deny that Trump and Charlie Kirk are racist, I presume.
Yep. Tinkerbell, stop it.
Oh, okay. One last thing. Sorry, I forgot. It's because we were going through the whole list. Donald Trump also like uses forcible suppression of opposition with his constant attacks on the press and crackdown on protesters. The belief in the natural social hierarchy is where I was getting at. Like, these men are both explicitly racist, sexist. Like, let's get into that. I
Sure.
think.
But can we focus more on Kirk rather than Trump? Because I think the idea of this debate was to focus more on Kirk. But this whole thing of you're doing this thing where it's like, well, if someone was a big aide to Trump, that means they are Trump. Whereas I just think Charlie Kirk he obviously wanted Trump to win the election very, very, very much because he wanted his country to be better.
Well, if you're going to say like that, I do think it's relevant because if part of my reason for what makes Charlie Kirk a fascist is the fact that he supports a fascist dictator, I feel like I have to back up my point that Donald Trump is in fact fascist.
But you honestly think half of your country is fascist? Just
because they still support a fascist dictator.
This is
and
the
that's
kind
why
of shit.
It's so important
Catherine,
for me to go through the list of all the things that make Trump fascist.
This is the kind of shit that got Rene Good and that Pretty guy killed, because they believe falsely that they're heroes and they're stopping this like Gestapo from going around and rounding people up and putting them in camps, and there's a fascist dictator. This is the hysteria that causes this absolute bullshit.
That is the most victim blaming shit I've ever heard.
It's not at all.
You're saying that Renee Good, because she was and again, I don't know, did she wasn't even an activist.
She was an activist. She was like an anti-ICE activist.
No, I don't think that's true. But like, even if she were anti-ICE, like you just said you don't agree with getting like murdered for your political views.
Mm-hmm.
Renee Good was shot in the face and she was clearly not a threat to these
Again,
men.
you don't know that she was clearly not a threat. And the ICE
we
agent
saw the fucking video.
And
what was
the hospital report, Catherine?
George, the hospital report for Renee Good?
No,
it was the third shot that fucking killed her.
No, what was the hospital report
through the side of her window?
What was the hospital report for the ICE agent? He had internal bleeding.
We saw the video. She didn't fucking run him over with her car.
You can't.
If he had internal
bleeding, he had internal bleeding, Catherine. Look,
George,
I don't want.
How we saw the video? How the fuck are you going to claim that his internal bleeding, say he had a bruise
The
from
left always turns out to be
hitting
wrong
his
about
leg
these things,
earlier.
just like they were
Like-
about Kyle Rittenhouse. You saw the video. They claimed they shot. You were even stronger, actually, you guys, back then, that Rittenhouse had done it. It was, the belief was so strong.
Why are you saying I don't know enough about? I never made any comments about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh,
I don't
come
know
on.
enough.
You
about
were
that case at all.
you were on top of everything in 2020.
No, I'm not. I know who he is, but I don't know enough about that case. So I'm not going to. I never argued anything related to that case. So don't say you
Right.
when you're talking to me when I didn't say anything about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Well, this is what
Anyways,
I've noticed
you know
a lot
what
of
you're-
people do. I've noticed a lot
You
of
know
people
what
do
you're
this.
doing right now is you sound like one of those like meat industry lobbyists who's trying to fucking spin the footage that comes out of these undercover investigations where it's clear
No, that's
animal
you.
abuse is happening, like the most explicit,
You're the one
like
trying to spin stuff. I'm saying wait
undeniable-
till the investigation.
George, no, you're not. Listen,
That's literally what
we
I'm saying.
saw the fucking video. It's like when we see these videos
You're driven
from
by
factory
emotion.
farms.
You saw the video and you got driven by emotion. Loads of people on the right are analyzing the video and saying that it clearly shows that she tried to drag him along the road, and he did have internal bleeding.
And that is not what happened in the video. That's people who are being insanely intellectually dishonest.
It did happen in the video because that's what happened to him. You think you're some all-knowing oracle that you... So this is going to go through a whole court system. There's going to be huge analysis of all the camera angles. There's going to be massive amounts of money and stuff looking at all the evidence of this. And Catherine Klein, the all-seeing oracle, knows already that the ICE agents are guilty. She is so sure of it that she knows 100% that all these ICE agents who shot both Good and Pretty, it was just straight up murder because we saw the footage. That's it. No trial necessary.
No, I didn't say no trial necessary, but we saw the fucking video and it's very obvious. Like what you're doing, again, let me finish my point. So what the animal ag industry does is there's these undercover investigators that come out and share like factory farm footage, and like it's egregious and we all know it, okay? And then they try to spin it like, oh, that's a rare and isolated incident, like that doesn't really like, or they try to just like act like it's not what it was, and they try to justify it. But like we see the footage, we know what's happening. We're not fucking stupid. If you're being intellectually honest and empathetic, like we see that footage and we know that it's fucked up, right? But like that's how propaganda works, is they fucking spin it. And you're falling for the propaganda of like
I
people
think you're honestly on an
trying
echo
to
chamber on social media. How do you know you're not falling for the propaganda?
Because I saw the George, how do you know you're not falling for vegan propaganda?
How do I know? Because
yeah.
Well, I've made that I am fallible, but I believe in my heart of hearts that weighing up all the arguments and the evidence that veganism is the right thing to do, and it makes logical sense.
Exactly.
Right, but you've seen how many angles have you seen of the Renee Good thing?
Quite a few.
Have you been through the court trial and you've seen you've analyzed every single argument? Have you heard the ICE officer's version of events?
George, yes, I've heard the ICE officer's version of events. I knew about the internal bleeding, but like the internal bleeding is not, that's just like an insane reach, because like
it's extremely relevant.
No, George, he could literally have like a bruise from earlier that day, and then they go to the hospital so that he can get a report saying that he has internal bleeding to use in court. Like, well, that's it's not okay. We saw the fucking video. She did
You're
not.
Right, Catherine. He stubbed his toe when he got out of bed that morning, and then he went to hospital later because
we saw the video. Like, we all saw the video, and you're trying to act like what we saw with our own eyes may not have actually happened that way. Like, your trust, this is again what propagandists do, is they try to get people to ignore what they see with their own eyes and like believe the narrative over their own fucking eyes. And like, that's my point about the factory farming footage, is like, carnists have a reason to like convince themselves that what they're seeing is either not what they're seeing or not bad. And
well,
like,
anyway, I think I don't want to get caught up in this
propaganda.
I don't want to get too much dragged away into this ongoing issue that you don't know all the facts on. I'm sorry, Catherine, you have to admit that.
My
I don't care if you've
point,
seen the video.
my point is that you are behaving just like carnists do when they see factory farm footage and they try to defend it.
No, but that's what you're doing because you're trying to insert your own narrative in this. I think you want it to be the case that ICE murdered Rene Good. You don't want it to be the case that that officer had any probable cause whatsoever to use his weapon.
I don't know how we saw the fucking video. We all saw the video. Anyone who doesn't think like,
and you saw the video of Nick Sandman of Nick Sandman standing there, and that native guy was shouting something in his face, and that was the left said. We saw the video. He was blocking that poor native guy's way. The left turned out to be wrong about that. We saw the video of Kyle Rittenhouse shoot 3 people dead. Well, I think he shot 2 dead, shot 1 in the bicep. The left said, clear video footage. You are just objectively wrong about this. You are a murderer if you believe in this. Shut down the social media posts of anyone who's saying he even could be innocent, which Facebook was literally doing at the time. The left does this every time an event is in the earliest of stages. They just say, I saw the footage. I don't give a fuck if you've seen the footage. You don't know. You just do not know. So let's move on.
Well, you could not, like it wouldn't matter even if she was like yelling at this guy and like telling him to fuck off and like whatever. Like, she didn't deserve to be shot in the face. And the fact that you're like defending they might have a justifiable reason to have used that force is like,
nor did Charlie Kirk deserve to be shot, yet the left celebrated when he was murdered. And then so
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I'm not gonna deny that some people were like straight up condoning his murder, but most people were just simply refusing to mourn, and they were pointing out Charlie's legacy, which was that he was a bigoted fucking propagandist. Like, that's, you would celebrate the murder of what's his face? I can't remember the guy's name. Tyler Robinson. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So like, you just said, oh, well, I'm allowed to celebrate when a piece of shit dies.
There's a clear distinction between just an innocent person and a fucking murderer.
But like, Charlie Kirk, I agree. Like, he didn't murder anyone. Like, he didn't literally pull a trigger, right?
Who do you think was a better person, actually, Catherine? No, carry on what you're saying. Sorry, I interrupted.
I agree with you, actually. There is a difference, but like, it's just funny to me that you are so upset that people would like refuse to mourn Charlie Kirk's
it's not
death.
that they refuse to mourn.
It's
the celebrating bit. It's the people who celebrate. I don't care about
people.
But
like, Charlie Kirk caused a lot of harm with his rhetoric.
No, but that's what everyone thinks about everyone's rhetoric. So this is the danger of saying this. I think you cause harm with your rhetoric because you have different opinions from me. How ridiculous would it be if I shot you in the throat because I believe?
Yeah, and I never said that I condone that.
But you almost, you're not condoning it, but you're kind of saying, look, Charlie Kirk was a hateful person, and therefore this is the kind of stuff that happens if you spread harm with your rhetoric. I could just say that about anyone I disagree with. It's a dangerous way to think. And I know and I don't want to go in hard on you on this because you didn't celebrate his death. But look, here, for me, just the most ridiculous thing with, obviously, I think it just showed a complete descent into moral depravity on the left that we're seeing. I've never known the left to be like this. When I grew up, we didn't have this sort of bullshit. And the hypocrisy is just staggering. So the question I was going to ask you is, who do you think was a better person, Charlie Kirk or George Floyd?
Oh my fucking God. I don't think that George Floyd was not a prolific commentator, and like I actually think that Charlie Kirk caused more harm than George Floyd. But George Floyd obviously did things that were not good. Like, I understand that he was an imperfect victim, but like I would argue that Charlie Kirk caused more harm given his reach.
Well, I mean, he caused no more harm, whatever, than anyone with any kind of platform does for having views that others disagree with. Because again, we all have the views we do because we think those are the least harmful ones, and that the people who don't have those views are causing harm. So I don't see the point in saying that.
You have to actually have evidence for your like point. And like you can say that my views cause harm, but like you don't actually have evidence.
Okay,
whereas I can produce a lot of evidence that Charlie Kirk's views cause harm.
So George Floyd, okay, he didn't have the platform Charlie Kirk did. Well, actually, George Floyd did technically cause more harm because his death actually caused a shitload of fucking riots and murders because of his irresponsible actions to drive around overdosed on drugs.
You're putting that on George Floyd himself? You're putting what?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know if you've seen my podcast with Wayne Shung, but I don't believe he was murdered. I think he overdosed on drugs.
Yeah, that's also absolutely insane. And okay, let's talk about that. Because you just said about me regarding Renee Good and Alex Preddy, like, we haven't seen all of the different camera angles. They haven't gone to court yet. We don't know what the verdict is. Derek Chauvin was literally convicted of murder. So, like, for you to say, I don't believe that, like, shows how fucking biased you are. It doesn't matter. Even when we get the verdict on Renee Good saying that she was shot unjustly and was not a threat to this ICE person, like, you're still going to deny it. Like, that is so telling, George.
Well, I would think about be quiet. I would recommend. Sorry, I've just got to. I would recommend you watch the two documentaries, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold and The Fall of Minneapolis. I think they build a pretty clear picture that Floyd overdosed on drugs, and that's what I thought from the start. It looks like a textbook drug overdose. In any case,
I also think you should watch like propaganda films from the meat and dairy industries, like the regenerative agriculture. What's that one with Temple Grandin? You should watch that one.
Very funny. Yeah. Anyway, so Floyd definitely caused more, and this is part of the degeneration of the left and why I think they've descended into evil. George Floyd was a violent gangbanger who used to go around people's houses and terrorize them and their children at gunpoint.
No one's defending that.
Well, actually, the left said, "Oh, don't bring up his past." What is his past?
They're talking about the myth of the perfect victim. They're not talking. They're not condoning his past behavior.
So apply that to Charlie Kirk.
I agree. When did I condone his murder?
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. But I'm talking about, I guess, the point I was making was about the people who did. That's the huge hypocrisy. The other thing is, if you want to talk about harm from words and actions, Hassan Nasrallah, Yahya Sinwar, two Islamo-fascist dictators in the Middle East. Not only did they harm people through their rhetoric to a far greater extent than Kirk did. I mean, Hassan Nasrallah told people to go out and beat up gay people in the streets. But they were actually involved in terror attacks. They called Yahya Sinwar the butcher of Khan Yunis. He hacked people to death with a butcher knife. The left laments his death, but Charlie Kirk is seen as like we celebrate his death and say, "Oh, he was evil." Like, to me, this is. Can you see that is outrageous? And I know you don't. I know you didn't celebrate Kirk's death, but can you see why we are so fucking fed up, Catherine, with these insane takes from the left? and how worrying that is, that they would lament the deaths of Islamo-fascist, homophobic dictators who called for gay people to be murdered in the streets. Even ALL, a fucking intersectional vegan group, did a reel lamenting his death. It's got like hundreds of thousands of views and likes. This is insanity, Catherine. Surely you can agree.
I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know anything about that. So, but
Well,
yeah, I can condemn. I always mix those words up, but like I'm not over here championing Islamo-fascists and
assuming I'm right that
Islamism. Okay.
Assuming
so I don't know why you continue to bring this up in conversations with me when you know who you're talking to, and you know that I'm not condoning that. So
well, that's the subject of this.
Because
the subject of this part of our conversation is we were going to be talking about the reaction to his death. And I think the reaction from the left to Charlie Kirk's death was pure evil and hypocritical. And it's worrying. They lament the deaths of extremely evil people, George Floyd, Hassan Nasrallah, Yahya Sinwar, and then they call Charlie Kirk evil and say he had it coming. He deserved to be shot. Unbelievable. And then, Yahya Sinwar, he was martyred in an IDF strike, an IOF strike.
Again, we're not going down that. We're not going into the topic of.
But do you agree? Sure. But do you agree that? Can you agree with me on this, Catherine? That is fucking insane. I know you're not doing it, but
I don't know. No, the reason I don't want to comment on this is because, like, I don't trust your assessment of what happened. Like, I'm not gonna concede because, like, I don't know if the way you're portraying this is like, accurate. Given how you
know who Hassan
portray the situation with Renee Good, I'm skeptical that you're portraying this situation accurately.
Well, you know who Hamas and Hezbollah are, don't you?
No, yes, but like I don't know enough. We had a whole.
You know that the leader is going to be a complete prick of both of those groups, an evil fucking bastard.
I think there is a difference though between like people who are like oppressed fighting back violently and like there's a difference between those types of political violence.
Well, okay, Hassan Nasrallah wasn't
people.
They were evil people regardless. They were He's an Islamo-fascist. Hate that Hezbollah do the Nazi salute, and he literally called for gay people to be beaten up and killed in the streets.
Well, again, I don't know enough about these specific people. Okay, but there's a difference between like state and structural violence being enacted on people.
You know enough about Alex Pretty and Renee Good, but you don't know that being the leader of Hamas and Hezbollah is fucking bad.
Well, the difference,
and that's to lament their deaths while celebrating Charlie Kirk, which I'm not accusing you of.
The difference is who is in power. Okay, like these are leaders, presumably, like they are leading a resistance against those in power. So, like, there's a difference between being like against state and structural violence and being against like oppressed people fighting back violently. Like those are two different things.
But you can still be a part of one of those groups allegedly oppressed who's fighting back violently and be a piece of shit, right? Which
yes, I agree that
and the butcher of Khan Yunis were.
I agree that like oppressed people can also hold oppressive views, and I support them in their resistance against oppression, but I don't support them if they're, you know, if they gain power and then use that power to oppress other people.
Right, but okay, let me think of another example, because you're claiming to not know enough about Hassan Nasrallah or...
Yeah, we agreed in DMs that we're not talking about this topic, so we really need to...
But on Charlie Kirk, can you agree that the left has obviously descended into immorality by celebrating his death, but lamenting the death of evil people?
No, because I don't accept your framing of... Like, I think those are two separate things. I think Charlie Kirk, his rhetoric is upholding like state and structural violence, whereas like the leader of a resistance movement fighting back against oppression, like
Well,
those are two different.
Hassan Nasrallah was upholding state and structural violence. Hezbollah have a lot of power in Lebanon, and Hamas is even the government
think that they have the power is not comparable to like the power of the U.S. and like Israel, which is backed by the U.S.
It almost seems like you're like almost making excuses for these people. Like these were deeply evil fucking people. Yahya Sinwar.
Again, George, you're asking me to defend things that like, if the way you're describing these certain things like is accurate, then of course I disagree. But like, I don't trust that you're portraying these situations accurately, just given how you portray other situations. And so like, I'm not going to comment on, you're not going to like bait me into commenting on something. Like, I'm not going to go there, and we agreed not to go there because.
But then what's the point of this debate if you just don't even trust me because I have different views to you on other stuff? You can surely trust me that Hassan Nasrallah was a piece of shit.
No, I can't trust you because you think that like George Floyd or Derek Chauvin was like wrongfully convicted. Like that's just insane. Like you also conflate like Justin Trudeau being like enforcing vaccine mandates to like Donald Trump's like raging brazen fascist regime.
It wasn't
like
just
you think that those are like, you think that Trudeau is worse and like Biden is worse than Donald Trump. Well, like look, your credibility is not there. Like, of course I'm not. The people are not going to trust you.
Well, it's down to each person's opinion of what they find to be more of a breach of rights. But for me, shutting down people's bank accounts because they're dissidents to your regime is the ultimate level of fascism. Like Hitler would have fucking loved Trudeau for that. That is like peak fascism.
If that's accurate, again, I don't keep up with Canadian politics. Okay, I agree. Like that's an authoritarian overreach. So like I agree.
Okay,
but like that one example of Trudeau doing authoritarian overreach versus like 10 bajillion examples I listed of Donald Trump. Like you are the one being dishonest by saying like. It's whataboutism. And it's like, I already agreed that I don't support this authoritarian measure by Trudeau and that I don't support Joe Biden. So like, how are you going to sit there and defend Donald fucking Trump, like with a rap sheet of examples of his executive overreach and his fascism?
But I gave you a rap sheet of things that make Kirk a clear anti-fascist. Clear as day.
No, we're going in circles on this. He can claim to not be a fascist and like claim to be in favor of free speech and all these things, but like, what is he actually doing? He's checking every box of the definition of fascism, and he's not a free speech hero.
He's checking the box of every definition of anti-fascism.
Let's talk about how he weaponizes free speech.
Sure.
Okay, so the right just redefines free speech as freedom from consequences. Like any social or economic consequence to their speech, they frame it as censorship. And free speech is specifically a right to speak without government punishment. It's not the right to an audience or a platform or freedom from any consequence. And it's rules for thee, but not for thee, or rules for thee, but not for me. That's like the whole Charlie Kirk like uses free speech, he weaponizes it, and then he doesn't actually follow these principles himself. So it's inauthentic. When he says he's for free speech, he's being inauthentic.
Well, how do you know? He hasn't had the power.
Let me finish my point. He's eager to dole out consequences to people whose speech he doesn't like. The Professor Watch List, Turning Point USA, that was Charlie Kirk's organization. That's a perfect example. Conservatives are often like the ones advocating for book bans, restricting curriculum, punishing teachers and journalists and students. Like I never saw Charlie Kirk criticizing Trump for any of his legitimate attacks on free speech and his federal crackdowns on protesters. I never saw him jumping to defend these protesters on the grounds of free speech. If he was genuinely against free speech, he would be doing that. And again, he called for Mehdi Hassan to be deported and deplatformed because of his views on COVID. Like saying send him back to his country, get him off TV, revoke his visa. Like that would be like a clear violation of the First Amendment. Revoking someone's visa for speech that you don't like. Like he's not a fucking champion of free speech. It's all just a means. He uses it as a means like to gain power. He doesn't actually hold a sincere belief in free speech.
I'll have to look into the Mehdi Hassan thing because I hadn't actually heard about that. I don't know if he was saying it in jest or just a kind of troll in any case.
It doesn't fucking matter. He said it.
Of course
like,
it matters.
Yes, no, it doesn't. That's not saying revoke his visa.
Yeah, if it's to troll or just to make a spicy comment, yeah, it doesn't necessarily.
When you are in a position like that, you can't just be saying things and you would accuse the left. If the left said something like that in jest, you would have a problem with it.
Well, I have a problem with him saying it. Yes, I don't agree with Charlie Kirk if he says that. But as I say, I don't know if to what extent he actually meant it. It's not something I would have said, even to joke. I don't think Charlie Kirk is a perfect figure by any means. I just don't think he's a fascist. And I do think I don't think he's a free speech absolutist. But yeah, he supports free speech much more than the left does. Like, there's no question about that. Like, it's undeniable.
That is most certainly not true. The left
you think the modern left. You think
the left is not calling for book bans?
Yes, they are. They ban everything that goes against them.
They would have when name an instance of the party in power like doing book bans that wasn't a right-wing party.
Yeah, I don't know about the party in power, but leftists in general in this modern age, like all the college campus people and everything, they want people banned from social media. They want
you are doing exactly what I just said, which is conflating free speech. Like the free speech is specifically a right to speak freely without government punishment. It's not the right to an audience. It's not the right to a platform or a publishing company or freedom from any consequences of like having your book like criticized and like college students protesting you.
Okay, who believes in hate speech laws more, the left or the right?
Yeah, the left. Like
that's the government.
What are you talking about?
Hate speech laws. Who believes in those to a greater extent, the left or the right?
Yeah, but hate speech is like the freedom of speech has some limitations.
Right. Well, Charlie Kirk would say that you are less free speech than him because you're saying that it should be a punishable offense to give someone the wrong gender. I don't know if that is your stance, but there are many on the left who think that calling people the wrong gender pronoun or something should be like an imprisonable offense.
No,
there are people who believe that. Yes, they do. What are you talking about?
Of course, you can always find examples of people who believe that. I'm not going to deny that. But the left, generally speaking, is not what they're trying to do is make it like, say, like on campus, like you can't just like misgender people, like that's harassment, right? But they're not like threatening to like put people in fucking jail for misgendering.
Yeah, they are.
They just want
Lucy
social
Connolly in the UK.
consequences.
Okay.
They just want social consequences. They don't want to lock people up and imprison them.
They do, because it's happening right now, Catherine. Do you know about the Lucy Connolly case?
No, I fucking don't.
Okay, well, let me tell you about it. So under our current leftist government, under Keir Starmer in the UK, Lucy Connolly wrote a tweet saying about the migrant hotels, burn them down for all I care. I don't give a toss about these people. She got sent to prison for about 8 months. Earlier this year, someone was burning a Quran outside the Turkish embassy in London. A guy ran out and fucking attacked him with a knife, tried to fucking hack him to death. A passing Muslim Deliveroo rider started kicking the guy on the floor, helping out the knifeman. The Deliveroo rider got nothing at all. The knifeman got spared jail. This is in the UK under our leftist government. Lucy Connolly went to jail for a fucking tweet, and a fucking Islamist knifeman is now walking the streets.
Okay, George, I understand that the laws in the UK are different than the laws in the US. Like, I support free speech.
But do you understand that there are people on the left who would agree with imprisoning Lucy Connolly and would also actually agree with imprisoning the guy who burnt the Quran? They would say that that's racism or whatever. Whereas on the right, that wouldn't happen. No one agreed. No one on the right agreed with imprisoning Lucy Connolly, nor would they agree with imprisoning the guy who burnt the Quran. They would only agree with imprisoning the fucking lunatic who tried to stab him and the delivery rider.
I genuinely would have to look into this case because, yeah, I don't trust your portrayal of things, just given how you portray other things. Just saying. But I do not.
What can I do to regain your trust, Catherine?
I do not agree with free speech laws in other places like the UK. I think I am more pro speech than that. So I would want to protect the US. I mean, now that Trump's in office, he's just ripping up the First Amendment, but I'm a actual genuine free speech supporter. So I don't agree with imprisoning people for speech.
Okay, but we're talking about who is more pro free speech out of Charlie Kirk or the left, and I'm saying Charlie Kirk is more pro free speech. The left would put people in prison for tweets. Charlie Kirk would not.
Charlie Kirk wants to revoke people's visas.
This is something I didn't actually hear about what he said about Mehdi Hassan, but I imagine he said it in jest.
Also,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And you know what? If he did mean that, fuck him for saying that.
Okay, fair enough. So I would disagree though that the left is more anti-free speech than the right, and I could back that up if you gave me enough time, but we can move on for now. You wanted to talk about the response to Charlie Kirk's death and how
I think we've talked about that enough, but you don't even really trust me on it, to be honest, because you just say, oh, you believe this about George Floyd, so blah blah blah. Let's talk then about your you said that Charlie Kirk was the architect of his own downfall.
Yeah. We can talk about that. I just wanted to share the celebrating of his death thing. You think that's outrageous, that people would be happy that he's dead, right?
Yeah, it's pure evil. Yeah.
Yet you support Gary Yourofsky, who says, fuck human beings. I fucking hate them all. Fucking two-legged devils. You're a psycho if you care about human beings. A fucking psycho 100%. I hope they all die horrible deaths. Yet you're going to clutch your pearls at leftists who celebrate the death of a fascist propagandist.
Nothing Gary has ever said can be more hateful than what we see from intersectionals. Gary, you have to take a lot of what he says with a pinch of salt. Intersectionals hate everyone. They hate Republicans.
George, they hate oppression. They hate structural and systemic violence. They don't hate all humans, and they're not going around saying, no, actually, I hope they all die horrible deaths. Fuck human beings. You're a psycho if you care about fucking human beings.
Well, they don't say it, but that's what you have to remember, most people in the world don't think like that. If they wished murder on Charlie Kirk, they wish murder on most of us.
How are you going to support Gary Yourofsky when he says these things that you would have a field day? If a leftist intersectionalist were to say that about Charlie Kirk, you would lose your goddamn mind.
Yeah, because
why are you
Gary hates people for things they've done.
That's what the reason. That's my whole point. No,
the reason leftists hate people over difference of opinion.
No,
the 1984 thought police. This is why everyone is fucking hating the woke brigade. the Boko Haram cult, who despise people. They're far more hateful than anything than
Okay.
Gary's ever been.
Speech, though, is not like, I agree. Charlie Kirk was not like directly like harming people, but to say that he didn't harm people with his speech, like, he caused a lot of fucking harm with his speech.
But this is
And
exactly
people
the
are
same we could say about
celebrating.
anyone on the left. Everyone has an opinion that is deemed harmful to someone
But
else.
George, there's a difference though between like some people are right and other people are wrong. So like, if you're gonna
wait, Catherine, let's move on to Gary in like 1 minute. I just want to talk quickly about your architect of his own downfall.
You're not answering my point about.
Oh, sure, go on. What's the question?
The fact that you're like morally outraged by people celebrating the death of a fascist propagandist who's spread very harmful rhetoric and
that's your
caused
projection
like
onto me. I don't
real
believe.
World harm. That's like outrageous to you. But then fucking Gary Yourofsky explicitly saying, "I hope they all die horrible deaths."
Who's he talking about, Catherine?
Psycho. You're a fucking psycho if you care about human beings.
But he doesn't mean that. You have to take a lot of his rants with a pinch of salt. Are you talking about his debate with you? Is that what he said it in? Yeah, he fucking lost it because you were trying to pressure him to apologize for a comparatively trivial comment he made years ago that he's already apologized for.
The fact that you're calling it trivial, just shows.
And we can go on to why. But let's I don't want to hop all around the place. I'd love to talk about that and why I think that highlighting that comment he made years ago is just pointless and kind of over the top, to be honest. But let's quickly just end on the Charlie Kirk thing. Why did you say that Charlie Kirk was the architect of his own downfall?
Because he cultivated an environment that was ripe for political violence.
But you accused me of victim blaming earlier. That's surely victim blaming. You're just saying he deserved it or he had it coming. How is
so Charlie Kirk?
His opinions caused people to murder him.
No, I didn't. That's not the same thing. Saying someone is an architect of their own demise is not saying they like literally deserved to die.
It's a soft way of saying it.
No, it's saying that they brought about the environment that led to that happening to them.
And the woman who wore a short skirt walking down the alley brought about the rapist. It is, because it's 100% the fault of the rapist. It is 100% that little freak Tyler Robinson's fault that he was evil enough to massacre.
I never claimed that it wasn't.
You're saying that Charlie Kirk created the definition. You're saying that it's like something percent Robinson's fault, but it's some kind of percentage Charlie Kirk's fault.
Right, and I'll back up my claim. Okay, so Charlie Kirk was a stochastic terrorist, which, do you know what that means?
No.
So it's a phenomenon where hostile public rhetoric increases the statistical probability of ideologically motivated violence by an unpredictable individual.
Come on.
So no. Let me finish. So it's characterized by like demonizing a group without explicitly calling for violence, so that the perpetrator, like the person spewing the harmful rhetoric, can deny responsibility, because like you can't pin it on them because
he claimed he loves everyone. Who was he demonizing? He claimed that he loved everyone.
He demonized all sorts of minority, like marginalized groups, like LGBT people, Black people.
He didn't demonize them at all, and
yes,
he employed them for Turning Point.
He absolutely did, and I will give examples, but let me finish my point. So the point of stochastic terrorism is that like it's about like increasing the probability of violence. It's not direct responsibility. So like he wasn't directly responsible for his own death. Like that's not what I'm claiming. I'm claiming that he increased the statistical probability of violence on like marginalized groups, right? And so violence begets violence. Like when you're constantly like demonizing and dehumanizing a group of people, you're increasing the instances of like hate crimes being done against them. And when a group of people are experiencing this, like they're like people are going to eventually.
Oh, and if you demonize
right?
and if
and
you
so,
demonize
no,
the
I'm not
Jews,
done. I'm not done.
And if you criticize Israel, it's going to result in them just fucking bombing people. You know, it's terrible.
I'm not done. I'm not done.
In fact, those who criticize Israel are stochastic terrorists. So carry on, Catherine.
So when you increase the likelihood of like hate crimes being done against marginalized people, you are essentially like.
He didn't increase any hate crimes. This is
that's what stochastic terrorism is. You can't pin it on him directly. That's the point. Is like he does have plausible deniability, and he never directly called for violence, but his rhetoric, his demonization and dehumanization of these groups statistically increases violence against them.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said when someone asked him, "Do you hate LGBT people?"
Of course he's going to talk out of both sides of his mouth.
See, it's not both sides of his mouth. You can critique certain things about certain policies with regards to trans stuff, or the massively high black crime rate in the US, where a black American is 10 times more likely to murder a white American than the reverse, by the way. So I don't, why even talk about that?
We can get into that too, but I still have not finished my point. Okay.
Natalie's asking, what did he say? He said, "How can I hate that what is of my heart?" is what he said about LGBT people.
I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Charlie Kirk said, when asked by a member in the audience, "Do you hate LGBT people?" he said, "How can I hate that what is of my heart?"
So is he claiming to be gay? Like what?
He's claiming that he loves LGBT people.
Okay, of course he's gonna say. You can say carnists claim they love animals. Like that's not the point. Like
the point is, Catherine,
he wanted to ban gender affirming care and said there should be Nuremberg style trials for fucking gender affirming clinics.
Again, that's a pretty because he cares about those children. Because Catherine, this is the way you frame these things. You frame that as some kind of evil thing against trans people. The people who don't want fucking drugs given to little kids to stop their puberty from happening. They're doing that for altruistic reasons.
No. This is you're getting into something entirely like a different argument.
No, you're painting him. You're painting him
about gender affirming clinics. He wasn't specifically talking about puberty blockers. So like he doesn't even support it for adults. He was like that's entirely like.
Well, he believed, he
have the freedom to take drugs in this country.
Well, for altruistic reasons,
transition.
Okay, for altruistic reasons, he believed that trans people should be instead told that you're perfect the way that God made you. And he said, and he was talking about the clinics. He was talking about the trials.
Doesn't have the evidence is not on his side. So like. He's advocating for conversion therapy, which we have evidence for, and that causes harm to the trans community. But that's a whole other topic.
He would say it's the opposite of conversion therapy. He's saying you're advocating for
of course he's going to fucking say that. Of course he's going to say that.
Of course you're going to say that you're not.
Say shit. They love to say shit that they don't have evidence for. But I wanted to, I was getting to your point about the, oh, well, it's victim blaming because if you say that he was the architect of his own demise, like, then that's like the same as saying a woman wearing a skimpy outfit or walking alone at night brought it on herself if she gets raped. Yep. Like, the difference here is that Charlie Kirk cultivated an environment ripe for political violence, okay? A woman who gets raped did not cultivate the patriarchal rape culture we live in.
Andrew Tate would just say she's
things. Hold on. She like walking alone at night or wearing a skimpy outfit She did not cultivate patriarchal rape culture.
I
with those
agree.
behaviors.
But the logic you're using...
However, if she were a vocal anti-feminist Andrew Tate supporter and then she got raped, you could say she was an architect of her own demise. I think that would be fair. That's not to say that she deserved to be raped, but she did cultivate the rape culture that led to her rape.
It's a consistent position, I guess. I think I might have to take in exactly what you've said, but yeah, okay. I mean, if you would say that about a woman being raped, although I still kind of see it different, because in your case, you're talking about someone kind of almost supporting what you would see as a misogynist, whereas in Charlie Kirk's case, he's literally just disagreeing with the other side. He's not saying, I support the people who would murder me or something.
But he did also say about gun reform, yes. I think it's worth it. It's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so we can have the Second Amendment. Like, statistics show that more guns do not equal more peace. Like, he did cultivate that environment.
But this is no different from someone who supports cars dying in a car crash. So every freedom you agree with.
No. We have regulations, and we should have more, honestly, on cars. Like, you have to get a license. You have to the people advocating for gun reform are basically like wanting us to treat guns like we treat cars, basically. Like,
no, but there's still regulations, and you're still not allowed to murder people.
Right. But Charlie Kirk was like saying it's worth it to have a cost of some gun deaths to like not have gun reform.
Yeah, and again, so every single freedom that you agree with has a safety payoff. So it's like a whole safety liberty trade-off. So name a single freedom you agree with, there will be some kind of consequence of that. So you supporting immigration, for example, will result in women being raped by immigrants who would otherwise not have been raped, right? If you didn't support it. But it would be kind of unfair if a woman was raped by an immigrant and then we said, well, she was the architect of her own downfall. You can see that that's kind of a distasteful thing to say.
If she, what was the first part?
Agreed with immigration.
And she was raped by an immigrant?
Yes.
That is... What you're doing is you're just framing immigrants as rapists.
No, I'm not. I was just
yes,
giving.
You are.
No, I could say you're framing gun holders as murderers or whatever. Look, so I didn't. I was giving.
Doesn't like immigrants are not inherently rapists.
No, but you understand that by having immigration, right, the trade-off for agreeing with the freedom of immigration, which I also see
immigrants are not more likely to be rapists.
You're straw manning my argument. This isn't what I've said. I said, as a result of supporting immigration, do you acknowledge that there will be there crimes that otherwise would not happen to the native population will happen as a result of supporting immigration? And that's, perhaps you could say, a fair trade-off. Even I would say it is. I'm pro-immigration. My wife's an immigrant. So
but immigrants are not statistically likely to commit more crimes. So they're no different than like the general population.
You're straw manning the argument again.
How is that straw manning?
I'm not talking about statistical likelihood of whether an immigrant would be less or more likely to do it. I'm saying a trade-off of having immigration will result in crimes that otherwise would not have happened as a result of having immigrants in the country. Of course, immigrants...
That's not necessarily true, though, because she could be raped by someone else.
No, but let me give a different analogy, because I feel you keep straw manning this. Let's go back to the car.
Honestly, George, I have to pee so bad right now that I can't even think. So give me like 2 minutes. Hold on.
Sure. Right, let me read a few comments. Yeah, Voldemort's turban said, yeah, and gun holders aren't inherently murderers. Yes, exactly. So just because you give everyone guns, it doesn't mean everyone's going to be a murderer, but you will have gun deaths. If you support immigration, not every immigrant's a rapist, but you will have rapes that would otherwise not have happened. No, it says cars kill 1 million animals a day in the US. That's such a very good point. It like, do we agree that that's like a worthy kind of sacrifice to having them? Like, if we run over an animal with our car, do we just say, oh, you know, I was the architect of this or something? I mean, essentially we were, but it would be kind of distasteful to blame a vegan for running over an animal just because the vegan supports cars, whatever. So Natalie actually does believe cars should be banned. Interesting. Yeah, good point. Facehate says Palestinians are the architects of their own demise. Yeah, you could just say this kind of about. It's interesting from Kane. Charlie Kirk did support transgender surgery for consenting adults. Biden wanted people arrested for saying that. I don't know what it is that you're referring to, but that's very interesting. I'd like to hear Catherine answer whatever it is you're talking about.
All right, I'm back.
Cool. Yeah, so Natalie, even in the comment section, she mentioned that like cars kill 1 million animals. Now she takes that per year, I think in the US, or kill millions. I don't know exactly what she said. But we still, as people who support cars, unless you don't support cars, Catherine, we acknowledge that there are unfortunately trade-offs for every freedom we agree with, whether that's immigration, whether that's gun rights, whether that's having cars, whatever it is, every single freedom we agree with, there's a sacrifice, a cost. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Tinkerbell.
So then in that case, yeah, I would. Would you say then that, would you retract the point that Charlie Kirk is the architect of his own demise, or at least maybe not retract the point? Would you say there's no more point in saying that than there's point in saying that a woman raped by an immigrant when she supports immigration is the architect of her own demise, or a person killed in a car accident who supports cars is the architect of their own demise?
Well, it's not just that Charlie Kirk supports guns. Like, he was a very vocal, like, he was against gun reform.
Yeah, sure. And I'm sure there's people who don't want the speed limit for
right.
cars
So
to
like,
go
if
below
there was
60.
it would be like if you were advocating for like no laws when it comes to like speed limits and stuff like that.
Okay. What speed do you think cars should be able to go up to by the manufacturer? Where should
I don't know. This is not a conversation. I genuinely don't know. I'm just saying it's not like.
Do you agree that cars should be able to go at killing speed, like 40 miles per hour?
No, I agree with you that I actually agree with Charlie's statement about like, yes, I think that it is an unfortunate, it's like the crop deaths argument. It's like an unfortunate reality that like comes with a general good, right? Like, we have to eat. So like, and the same with guns and cars. Like, yeah, there are going to be some car deaths, there's going to be some gun deaths, but like, we should have these rights. I agree with that. But the irony with the Charlie Kirk thing is just that he didn't even support basic gun reform. So he was like, I'm pretty sure he was like an NRA supporter. So like, the comparison is like someone who advocated for like getting rid of traffic laws, basically. If they died in a car accident, I guess you could say, well, he was a vocal supporter of getting rid of speed limits. So like,
or someone who thinks cars should be able to go above 30 miles an hour.
But like, they'd
be against the reform of it going below 30.
No, but like, I agree that like the social utility of being able to drive above 30 miles an hour is like, does outweigh, like, it will unfortunately cause some car deaths. I agree with that, but like, it is worth it for the social utility. But like,
But
what
that was
social
exactly
utility
Charlie
is there
Kirk's
to
position.
have zero gun reform? What social utility is there to like get rid of traffic laws altogether? Like those things are not. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, Kirk would argue that there were points to it. So Kirk did argue that.
I honestly don't know exactly. Like I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he was like an NRA supporter, which is why I made that point.
Right. Okay. Do you want to move on to Gary now? Because I think we got like 50 minutes left.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I might have a few other points. Because I did want to talk about like the cancel culture aspect of the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, which will then tie in, I guess, to Gary.
Did you want to do that now then?
Yeah, sure. So, this is the thing about like you claim to be so anti-cancel culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yet I saw with my own two eyes what you were posting on social media after his death.
Yeah,
and
you were supporting well.
You were supporting the most like blatant example of cancel culture of the platform where people were uploading like people's information to like deliberately get them fired from their jobs simply for sharing like memes and quotes from Charlie Kirk that were
not memes and quotes. Yeah, no, I don't care. I certainly wouldn't want. I don't care about if it was just memes or just sharing quotes of his. I was talking about people specifically celebrating his death. Yes, those are dangerous people and should be put on a list in the same way we have child sex offender.
Even celebrating though is not the same thing as like I agree that it would be a fireable offense if like you went on your platform and you were like calling for someone's murder.
Mm-hmm.
But like if somebody is murdered, like a political figure is murdered, like, and I hold this view consistently. Like if Bernie Sanders was shot and some right-wing asshole went on Twitter and was celebrating his death, I would be like, oh my God, you fucking piece of shit. But I wouldn't be like, let me report him to this database so he can lose his job in fucking construction or wherever the fuck he works. Like, I'm not trying to cancel people because they post things I don't like that are insensitive.
So for me, cancel culture is about people being cancelled just for utterly trivial things. Oh my God, this person is pro-life. Oh my God, this person said that X race commits more crime than X race. That's all just trivial bullshit. If we've got to a stage now in society where people are like applauding and celebrating the murder of normal people for having normal opinions, those are dangerous people. I don't want them flying my plane. I don't want them doing brain surgery on me or my family.
How does someone's view that Charlie Kirk like had it coming, or like they're celebrating his death, like in a sense of like they shared a meme about how good riddance or something like that? How the fuck does that influence their ability to fly an airplane?
Well, I don't know about just a meme that's joking about good riddance or something like that. Although
that would be celebrating. That would fall into the category of celebrating his death.
Well, do you know who Anders Lubitz is?
No.
Well, he was the Germanwings pilot who flew his plane into a mountain intentionally and murdered all on board. Do you want someone who wants normal people to be murdered flying your plane?
I don't. That is not the same thing.
Well, it is like, because they're dangerous people.
Celebrating the death of a fascist political commentator.
He was a normal person.
No, he wasn't. That's
person,
your
like your mum or your dad.
Your framing of him. He
represented the average person. American. He represented the views of the average American.
Yes, but he was a career propagandist. Your average American is not a career propagandist.
So just because of the fact that he happened to have a job that you dislike where he espoused those opinions, basically he's a political opponent.
To have that job, like free speech. Like I'm not saying that
your problem is like Some people have these views, but
Charlie
it makes
Kirk,
it worse if you're actually in the business of having these views. That's your problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Also,
well, then how
if somebody
politics
had the
work?
view, if I was flying on an airplane and I found out that the pilot had posted some like stupid ass insensitive meme about AOC being like, if he posted some meme that was racist and like say AOC was murdered and he was like, haha. Like that.
I wouldn't want him flying my plane. There'll be black passengers on the plane, or she's Latina, isn't she?
I wouldn't assume that he like is going to crash the fucking plane on purpose to kill everyone on the plane.
Why would you want anyone? Yeah, okay, the chance is low, but it's too high for me to take it. I don't want to be flying on a fucking plane or someone operating on my brain who either thinks normal people should be murdered for being fascists, what you believe about Kirk, or
that's not
Latina people should be murdered or whatever.
I
don't want them operating on me. I don't want them looking after my parents while they're in care. I don't want them in employment.
Okay, then you can choose to go to a different brain surgeon, but that doesn't mean that they're like not qualified to do brain surgery.
No, Catherine, I don't want to have to go to another brain surgeon. I don't want anyone in their care. I don't want another fucking Harold Shipman on the streets. Do you know who Harold Shipman is?
Oh my dear God. This is just like...
Do you know who he is?
No, I don't fucking know who these people are.
He's one of the most notorious serial killers in history. He murdered 120 something people in the UK as a doctor. He would prescribe them overdoses. He murdered, more than like 100 people.
Okay, yeah, if somebody's a convicted serial killer, that's a very different thing.
And these fucking weird freaks
celebrating someone's death on social media, those are two very different things. The fact that you don't see that and you're conflating those two things.
Well, what makes
is very hypocritical considering.
Okay, let me put it this way, Catherine. Would you want Tyler Robinson looking after one of your parents if they were in care?
First of all, I don't know if Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I don't fucking know enough. I don't know. But no, but that has nothing to do with whether I think he should lose his job as a librarian or whatever. Those are not the same thing.
Well, I think people who support innocent people being murdered should not be in work because you don't know what they're going to do. It's a huge risk. Again, we didn't have these when I was growing up, and back in my day, we didn't have this bullshit. There was no assassination culture. No one would celebrate or say, "Ha, he deserved to be murdered." Who do you think
cultivated this environment that has more?
The left. They were like damn missed about Trump being assassinated. They whoop and cheer when fucking Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Assassination culture is growing on the left. A sickeningly worrying percentage of people on the left think that assassinations are legitimate.
George, who is in power right now? Who is actually in power right now?
It doesn't matter. I'm not.
No. Yes, it absolutely does matter.
No, people are responsible for their own actions. This is the problem with the left. You always blame someone else for people's evil.
You're blaming the left for assassination culture being on the rise, but what cultivated such a culture in the first place?
Hysteria, idiocy,
power, the people, the system, evil. And the people in power cultivated that environment by ramping up the structural violence and this oppression of people.
You're giving
that is what led
hysteria over Trump. You're giving people an excuse for falling for mainstream media hysteria. I've not killed anyone because Trump is in office. I've not gone out and celebrated anyone's fucking death. How come I can manage to be a decent human being while Trump is in power? But Robinson and all these sick fucking freaks in the States want to go out and murder people.
I am not saying that they are justified in their behavior, but I'm saying that the left, you're blaming the left for this culture of violence when the left is not in power.
But I also blame for the right for hatred that they cultivate in their own spaces. Like the KKK is not the left's fault. Although the Democrats did found them.
Oh my God. That is not... Parties switched platforms. Like,
I know. Yeah, so for me, any group of hateful freaks on either side of the political spectrum, it's their fault. I don't blame people on the left for the KKK, and I don't blame the right for these sick fucking little weird freaks like Robinson who go around murdering people over a difference of opinion. These people are just scum.
I agree that like individuals are responsible for their own actions, but like the left as a whole, we're not talking about like individuals. You blamed the left on this like assassination culture when it's like the left is not in power. The right is in power.
Yeah. So, and like, how are they reacting to the power?
Of course they're gonna. Of course, this is like the whole idea behind Martin Luther King's quote, like, a riot is the language of the unheard. Like, when you continue to oppress people and use state and structural violence, and like there are no means to like.
Okay, did you know that that's what when Brenton Tarrant killed those people in New Zealand? That's literally you're using the same rhetoric that Fraser Anning said. The New Zealand
George. Anytime I pause to like collect my words, you just jump in and derail and like spring up some random ass shit. And
well, I'm not going to derail. I want to address your point, but go on.
You got to let me finish what I was saying.
Go on.
The power thing is very important. Like when. Like the left does not have they're not in power. You understand that, right?
I don't give a fuck. People are responsible for their own actions. I haven't killed a single person out of Trump being in power. I haven't killed a single person over Keir Starmer being in power, even though I don't like the shit he's doing here.
The people in power, like the fascist government in power, is responsible for like oppressing people and not listening to them and not like giving them rights and giving them freedoms and whatever. You're going to have a violent uprising. Like that is an inevitability of state violence against people. So for you to blame the leftists who are like some of whom are like reacting and fighting back violently, like that is not like, I understand that those individuals are responsible for their behavior, but like to blame the left for that, do you see what I'm saying? Like that's not.
I see what you're saying, and I completely reject it. I'm sorry, Catherine. I think that's an immoral view you hold, because you're saying the same thing that Fraser Anning said after the Christchurch mosque massacre. So Fraser Anning, the politician, said this is what happens when you have leftists in power who continue to not listen to their population and just bring in waves of Muslim immigration. You get these things happen. You just sound like him, but the other side. Brenton Tarrant, the fucking guy who murdered all those innocent people in Christchurch, he was responsible for his own actions. It's not the left's fault. Same as Breivik. It's what Breivik said when he massacred all those people in Norway. This is a result of leftist policy. This is that you make us feel this way because the people of Norway keep saying we don't want all this, and you keep sending in waves of Muslim immigration, blah, blah, blah. So he massacred a load of people.
There's a difference between, like, you love to bring up this point in every single time we have a debate about intersectionality, where you're like, the left thinks that they like own the definition of oppression, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah. There's right and then there's wrong. Like one side is rightfully being like, one side is actually being oppressed. The other side has like unchecked fucking emotions and like fear response that lead them to misplace their anger and like scapegoat an innocent marginalized group of people. And those are not the same thing. So like that's a false analogy that you're making.
No, it's not.
Because the people, like the
Because
leftist policies that like are pro-immigration are like the person who attacked that mosque or whatever, like they are misplacing their anger on Muslims,
And so
they're wrong in their view of the world. Whereas the people on the left, like people are being oppressed actually, and that's going to lead to an increase in violence.
Hold on,
and you can't blame the left in general for what the right cultivated with their state violence against people.
This is just terrorism apologia. It's straight up domestic terror apologia.
Oh my God.
And yes, people on the right do feel that certain of their groups are being genuinely oppressed by leftist policies. And they'll just say, who the fuck are you to have to say that we're wrong about that? You think you seem to think you're infallible, Catherine, about this.
No, the left has an actual like coherent ideology and worldview, and
you would say that because you're a leftist.
They're pinning the problems. I'm not saying every single leftist is right about everything. I'm talking about like
you're saying you are
as an ideology.
You think you are right about everything?
I don't think I'm right about everything, but I think that I'm right about this. Like there's a factual reality of the world, okay? And there's like an accurate like assessment of like who the actual oppressors are, like versus there's people who scapegoat innocent marginalized groups and pin societal problems on innocent groups of people instead of targeting the actual.
Both sides accuse the other of that. And
I know they do, and one side is wrong and the other is not.
Why not acknowledge your own fallibility, Catherine?
I do acknowledge my own fallibility.
But you seem to speak like you're this all-knowing oracle who just like you've got it all figured out. You're probably in your 20s or some shit, and you think you've got it like all figured out already.
No, I do not claim to have it all figured out. I've literally admitted like multiple times on this stream, like my like areas where I don't have enough knowledge. Like I'm not gonna comment on things I don't know about. Like I'm not over here acting like I have all of the knowledge. I just think that like it's the same reason I am confident about veganism. And it's like how do you know that you're not being propagandized by like vegans instead of like, because you understand all these arguments for the carnists make, right? Like you understand that they're bullshit for various reasons.
Yeah.
And like I've thought through these things and like analyzed.
With all due respect, Catherine, I think a lot of people on the right could beat you in a debate about loads of things. Abortion, gun control, all of these things.
I don't really talk much about gun control, honestly. And I'm not saying.
So do you understand that the right believe it's genuine oppression against women and a violation of women's bodily rights for the state to disarm them? Or do you just invalidate that concern they have and say, oh, they're just lying?
I'm not like against gun ownership. So I don't know why you think that you like to ascribe things to me that I don't necessarily believe.
Well, I think in our debate with Debug Your Brain, you seem to be anti-gun. So I just, have you changed your position? You now...
I mean, I'm pretty like... It honestly, it's not like an issue that I have a very strong opinion about. Okay, I might have said that in the past. Like there are times when I feel pretty anti-gun, but like I'm more in favor of gun reform.
Okay, abortion. Are you strongly pro-choice?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you understand that people on the right, they're not pro-life because they want to control women's bodies or all this crap that the left spews about them? Is because they deeply care about unborn children being murdered. They literally cry themselves to sleep.
They don't understand bodily autonomy. Like,
well, they would say you don't.
No, I do actually have a coherent argument against pro-lifers or whatever, anti-choicers. Like I understand that they want to protect fetuses, right? Like I understand they think that like fetuses are sentient and deserving of, whatever. But like no actual human that's like born has the right to use another person's body for sustenance. So like it's a bodily autonomy issue.
Well, I know exactly what they would reply to that.
We already have the same rights. Like fetuses already have the same rights as humans that are like born.
Well, they obviously don't, because they can be killed and born humans can't be. And the pro-lifers would argue that that's arbitrary.
You completely just like ignored my argument. It's about bodily autonomy.
Yeah,
I, as an adult human, do not have the right.
Well,
I don't have the right to use another person's body without their consent for my sustenance.
Mm-hmm. The pro-life crowd would have a counter argument to that. They would say you're misapplying the idea that the child is using someone else's body as if it's their intention, when they were forced into a state of dependency by the mother.
How are they forced by the mother?
Because she had sex.
The mother, yeah, but like consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy.
But they would say, but because you took you took an action, we'll probably get into it.
It's the men who are taking the action to like ejaculate inside women. It's not the women who are responsible for getting pregnant.
Yeah, and the pro-lifers say, we accept your terms. Those men who run off should be forced to raise the child or pay child support or whatever. They say, yeah, we agree. Anyway, we shouldn't get into a thing about abortion, because that's not what we're here to debate. Did you want to move? We've only got half an hour left, Catherine. Should we need to get the Gary thing done? Okay, sure. Yeah, so let's talk about his the comment about Palestinians. Why were you so riled up on the stream to get him to have to apologize for that comment he made ages ago, which is nowhere near as bad as I would say as a lot of comments people make, like on the left, or things that they've done? And why, if he's apologized for it, like why it matters so much for you to have to? What did you ask him to do? You wanted it on his fucking website or something. Well, because he claims that he apologized on his website. By the way, he did. He issued a apology on his website that was insincere, because he was talking out of both sides of his mouth, which is not a genuine apology. Why do you think that you can read people's minds? That's why I asked him, if you're going to genuinely apologize, you should make a correction to your post on your website where you apologized. Why do you think he's insincere in his apology? Why because he went on to say offensive racist shit. What did he say that was racist? I would have to go back. You have to go back and listen to the debate. But like, he did not, when he said, I was wrong to say that that Palestinians are the most psychotic group of people on the planet. I was wrong. Actually, intersectional vegans are the most psychotic group of people on the planet. Like, to say that is not to say that I was wrong because it was racist. It's to say I was wrong because actually I changed my mind, and like this other group is crazier. Like, well, yeah, he said that, but he also said he was wrong because he lumped Palestinians and Hamas in with one group to each other. I will say though, and this is why this is ridiculous, why there's so much hatred from him for saying that. Do you know who should think that Palestinians are the most psychotic group of people on the planet? Can you guess? Who should what? Leftists. Who should? What was your question? Do you know who should think that Palestinians are the most psychotic group of people on the planet? Left. You're gonna say this is just because they hold, anti-gay, whatever. Like. Yep. And I've got the statistics on Palestinians' beliefs. George, I've got a bunch of Pew Research. that
How
I
many
can bring
times
up.
do we have to go over the fact like that you can be oppressed and also simultaneously hold oppressive views of other groups of people, and that the left is not defending Hamas's views on like gay people? Nobody is fucking defending that. We're defending them from being
They
like
actually do.
genocided
They
by
do
the Israeli
downplay them.
government.
They do
No, they
downplay
don't.
Islamic views on homosexual. They do.
No, when you are framing it as them downplaying it, but what they're actually doing is they're simply saying
Catherine,
that
I've been
you
called a
are
racist for simply saying that Islam is homophobic.
Yes, because what you're doing is you're not actually like you're using it as a like whataboutism. You're not being sincere.
I'm being sincere. I
No,
genuinely.
you're not. You're only bringing it up to dismiss the valid concerns that leftists have about what Israel is doing to Palestinians.
No, leftists dismiss valid concerns people have about Islam in Europe.
No,
They do.
Islam is nobody on the left, and okay, I shouldn't say nobody because again, you can always find examples of some crazy ass leftists that I don't agree with. But like the left,
well, just go to any intersectional group on Facebook.
The left, generally speaking, is not advocating or like supporting Islamic like fundamentalism and like conservatism.
Then why is their profiles on Instagram full of Hamas and Hezbollah praise?
Because
saying,
they're
long live the
supporting
resistance.
because it's a resistance movement against the like Israeli government that's oppressing.
They're Islamist groups.
This is just the myth of the perfect victim all over again. It's like you as in you, George, cannot empathize with anyone unless they're a perfect victim. Whereas like the left, we understand that like most oppressed people are imperfect and like also
the left hates everyone, Catherine. They despise Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was shot in the throat and they celebrated.
George, that's not related to what we're talking about right now.
It is. Why can't they say about Charlie Kirk or someone like that? So basically, when a white Christian is murdered, it's okay to talk about their beliefs, their past, what they said, blah, blah, blah. If a brown-skinned Muslim is killed,
George, I understand
their beliefs are irrelevant.
I understand that Charlie Kirk was a victim of murder. I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm not condoning his murder. I'm not saying like we should kill people like Charlie Kirk.
We've got a comment here. So a resistance is always good, according to her. What a weak position. Yeah, what do you mean by resistance? What is Hamas doing?
I'm not saying it's always good in the sense that their actions are always good. I'm just saying that there's like a difference between resisting oppression and their oppressive views, like when it comes to Islam. Like,
but what did October the 7th have to do with resisting oppression?
Are you serious? Because they're being, and again, I'm not defending October 7th because I don't agree with like attacking civilians, but like that was an act of violent resistance that was inevitable.
How is going to house raping women and massacring festival goers resistance? That's just straight up.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree that like I don't always support violent forms of resistance, and that's an example of one that I don't support because it targeted civilians. But like it's still like an inevitability when you oppress a group of people and you refuse to give them equal rights and you continuously like occupy them and oppress them. Like there is going
Gaza, which is occupied by Hamas. It's not occupied by Israel.
There is going to be violence that comes from that, and that is different. That's a different form. Like I think that violent resistance, while I don't necessarily condone it, is in a different category than like oppressive force and like state violence. Like I think state violence, the violence coming from the people in power, is like it's a different category and it's worse than like violent resistance. That's my point.
Do you agree with me that if Palestinians were white and had like southern redneck accents and the exact same thing were happening to them, the left just wouldn't give a toss?
No, we would.
But you didn't show it with Charlie Kirk.
Most people on the left were not condoning Charlie Kirk's murder. And we don't support putting MAGA like voters in fucking like occupied territory and like oppressing them. We don't support that. That's the difference between the left and the right, is like the left may hate people on the right for being fucking bigoted assholes, but at the end of the day, we don't want to like put them in fucking concentration camps and take away their individual rights, and like we want them to have healthcare and we want them to have like employment.
Yeah, maybe maybe you do, but you've seen a lot of people on the left who just do praise.
George, this is your very, very biased interpretation. Like, I'm on the left, I see a lot of leftist opinions and I do disagree with some of them, but like the vast majority of people on the left are not advocating for fucking like putting you because you brought this up. You were like, if the Palestinians, if you replace them with like redneck hick MAGA people, the left wouldn't care. That's not true. Like we wouldn't support that. And that's not what we're advocating for.
A lot of the left have shown that they genuinely would. They literally support conservatives being murdered. I even saw one status from someone saying that they think Charlie Kirk's kids should be off as well. Like the left is just fucking
George, that's like fucked up. What you're doing is you're taking like extreme examples of like say vegans who say absurd shit, right? Like you're using them and then you're saying to like discredit veganism basically. Like that's not like vegans in general are not like violent fucking extremist assholes, but you can point to examples of that though. Of course you can, but like that doesn't characterize the entire group. Like leftism is an ideology that's like anti-hierarchy, anti-oppression, and like you can't characterize the left just because you can point to like a couple Twitter examples, and then also your framing is not always accurate. So like while I do agree that some of the examples you pull up, I might say, yeah, that's fucked up. Some of the examples that you're like, there's so many leftists doing that. Like some of those examples, I bet you I can point out how your framing is inaccurate. So no, you can't characterize the left in this way, because like, just like you can't characterize veganism in this way.
Well, I want to say I don't characterize the whole left in this way. And I guess I should have made that clearer. In fact, most of my friends in the movement are on the left, and they're, as Trump would say, very fine people. But you can see that a disturbing amount of people on the left believe that conservatives should be murdered, or fascists, as you might call them. A disturbing amount, Catherine. Like, it's not just like, oh, that's an extreme tweet here. Oh, look at that. Won't see that again.
Sure.
And floods and floods of
the outward. Reason, like, I understand that it is disturbing that there's like an increase in political violence. Like I was disturbed when Charlie Kirk got shot because like that is scary. Like I do agree that it's disturbing. Mm-hmm. But you can't blame the left for that when the left is not in power.
You don't have to be in power to shoot someone or to foster an environment.
Power, it's all about power. That's what you don't.
Again, Trump is in power and I haven't killed a single person. I'm responsible for my own actions.
That's not what I'm saying.
You're saying, well, it kind of is. You're saying that it's people who's in power fault for people doing evil things. I'm saying it's people are responsible for their own actions. Right. I've never murdered a single person in my life and never will because of who's in power in the US or in the UK.
Right. But like who's in power, absolutely statistically like leads to a rise in political violence.
Well,
Like you can't disconnect those things. Like
well,
I'm not saying that
political
individuals should
violence
be
is
held
the
responsible for their own actions, but like the people who are like the people cultivating this environment are the people in power.
Going back to the Gary again, I'm really never going to agree with you on this, but going back to the Gary thing, do you think there's better things to spend your time demanding an apology for in our movement? Like maybe asking all the people who demanded we donate to BLM in 2020, do you think that they should apologize for what
You
they
are
did?
really hung up on that.
I am. I was extremely angry about it at the time. We haven't had an apology, Catherine. You know how
Why should people apologize for donating for like against racial injustice? Like nobody needs to fucking apologize for that.
Not apologize just for people who were thought they were doing the right thing and donated. I'm talking about the bullies in the movement, the intersectional scumbags who basically wrote up lists of organizations, even sanctuaries, to cancel if they didn't speak up for or donate to BLM, the violent anti-Semitic hate group who scammed people out of their money and spent it on mansions.
Oh my fucking God.
And on bailing out Quintez Brown, the violent anti-Semitic murderer who tried to murder Craig Greenberg. Why haven't we had an apology for that?
Because again, like I very much do not trust your framing on that.
You're not going to trust that BLM
I don't
that they ran off with the money.
No, so I don't know enough about it, but I certainly don't think you're a trustworthy source. And I don't think that you're like framing it accurately.
So you're just going to ignore all the news about the BLM founders, just all the scams that they've been doing, all the money laundering?
I don't know, but I don't trust that your framing is accurate. If it is, then sure, I disagree with it.
I know you disagree with it. I know you disagree with it. Do you think that those intersectionals who demanded we donate to that organization should apologize?
No. People can demand like, oh, you should donate to this group. They're not holding you at gunpoint to fucking donate to a group you don't want to donate to.
Well, in a sense, they were holding the movement metaphorically at gunpoint. They wrote up they did a massive cancellation campaign. A girl called Demi Colleen, I think it was, literally did a massive fucking spreadsheet. She put sanctuaries, Catherine, were giving, but because of threat of being cancelled or having their windows bashed in or whatever, as we saw with the violent mobs, were donating to this hate group. This is money that could have been spent on animals. So all that money in 2020, so we had potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been spent on animal causes go to a violent anti-Semitic hate group, bailing out criminals and to scamming.
Again, I don't accept your framing because I don't have the knowledge on this particular issue.
It's all over the damn news, Catherine. Like every month, the fucking BLM leader is getting done for money laundering, for siphoning funds.
I don't know enough to comment, and I don't accept your framing on the issue. Like I'm not going to. You might be right, but I'm not going to just accept what you're saying is true, given how much you've demonstrated that you like love to twist things and mischaracterize things all the time.
It's almost just well poisoning, Catherine. It's just like George is an
untrustworthy
figure. I don't believe all this stuff, even though I can see it from my own eyes. I have so many
examples. Like you use the like racist 1350 stat all the time. That's like easily debunked.
It's not. How is it debunked?
Because it's based on, first of all, it's based on like arrests, not convictions.
Well, cops arrest people if they've committed crime.
No, they like arrest people if they have probable cause to arrest them. That's not like arrest is not the same thing as conviction. Just because you were arrested doesn't mean you were guilty of a crime.
We have the evidence of the dead bodies in the hoods in America. Like these places are fucking just littered with dead bodies every single week. It's
also
clear.
that crime stat, the 1350, ignores like all white collar crime. And it
Yeah,
also
yeah.
ignores the fact that like the crime, like high crime rates are a condition of poverty, not race.
Well,
So,
that
like,
would be a
it's
completely different.
misleading on multiple levels. And you love to like use that statistic. So like that shows to me
Poor Asians aren't committing
you-
lots of murders.
Because-
Asians commit lower crime regardless of their socioeconomic status in the States. They do earn the most money, but even the poor Asians have a very low murder rate.
There's different like environmental factors at play here.
Regardless of the environmental factor, it's true that
So
Black
you
Americans
are admitting that you're racist because you're basically saying like Black people are inherently more criminal than other race groups.
No, that's just a thought terminating cliche. That's just a way to shut down the argument that you don't want to hear. Am I racist against white people for saying that most child porn offences are committed by white people? Most football hooliganism offences in the UK is white.
But it's not because they're white.
I didn't say it's because they're white or because they're Black or anything like that. I'm just saying the
why would
statistic
you bring up 1350?
Well, it depends what the context was.
If not to portray Black people as like more criminal.
What was the context? Why did I bring it up?
You've brought it up in multiple contexts, and you bring it up to discredit BLM and like the systemic racism.
Right. Okay. So what I probably replied to it was the idea was that Black people aren't safe on the streets. White people are going out in droves and executing us in the streets. It's not safe right now in America for Black people, and the statistics show the opposite is true. That a Black American is 10 times, Catherine, more likely to murder a white American than a reverse. When it gets to the gender split, it's even crazier. A Black American male is 17 times more likely to murder a white American woman than a white American male is to murder a Black American woman. So it's relevant to the hysteria in 2020 when we saw stupid tweets saying stuff like, "Dear white people, what are you doing to ensure that your children won't grow up to murder mine?" What do you mean? Where's that happening? White people hardly ever murder Black people.
But you'll discredit statistics regarding like systemic racism, and then you'll flip it around as if like white people are systemically oppressed.
I've never said that white people are systemically oppressed. This is just another myth that intersectionals have created about me. My quote was, Catherine, no group apart from animals are systemically oppressed in Western countries.
So you're saying you're denying the existence of systemic racism?
Yes, I don't believe we have it in the West.
That's like inherently a racist thing to say because it does exist.
I wish I knew the term for this fallacy back in 2020 when I got cancelled for it, but the fallacy you're using now is called Kafka trapping. So denial of the thing means you are the thing. Do you believe that Joe Biden is a pedophile?
He could be.
If someone was to say that he's not, would you say that that makes the person a pedophile?
No. But you're using you're using statistics to like portray Black people as criminal that are misleading statistically.
What do you mean to portray Black people as criminal? If someone commits murder, they're a criminal, aren't they? The same as if a white person commits a child porn offense, they're a fucking criminal.
What's the point of like bringing up the fact that like
I told you the context I responded to, and it's valid. If you are driving a hysterical myth that white people are going out lynching Black people on the streets, which isn't happening, it's fair to say that's not what's... Catherine, if I peddled the lie that women were going out and raping men en masse, do you not think it would be fair for you to say, actually, I've got the statistics here, George, and it seems that it's actually men who are raping women?
So you're claiming that there are no statistics to back up that systemic racism exists in this country.
I don't believe them. No, I don't believe they're anything to do with intentional.
So you're just hand waving away the statistics that you don't like.
Oh, basically. And someone who doesn't believe Joe Biden is a paedophile is obviously a paedophile because they're just hand waving away all the stuff that shows he's a paedophile.
No, but that's a false analogy because like there is no evidence.
Well, I don't believe there's evidence of systemic racism. So
you don't believe it, but that doesn't mean there isn't.
Yeah, and I'm fallible. And you might not believe that Joe Biden's a paedophile, but it doesn't mean that he's not.
But no, you just disregarded my whole argument that I made.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, because I didn't say, like, yes, it's true that, like, it would be the case, like, the I forget what the term was that you used, the fallacy you were talking about, like
Kafka
if
trap.
I were to
Yeah,
say,
if you deny this thing, you are that thing.
Yeah. I understand why that is, like, fallacious, right? But, like, the difference is that in the case of Joe Biden being a pedophile, like, there's no evidence of that. So, like, yeah, denying it is not the same thing.
I'd say there's as strong, for me, in my opinion, there is as strong evidence that systemic racism exists. I just don't, like, I can reject the evidence.
There's like a reality that we live in, and there's statistics showing that it does. And you're just
and I've heard them all, and I have counter arguments to them. I think they're weak arguments, and I'm entitled to that opinion. I don't deny systemic racism in other countries. I don't deny it in Russia, Romania, Ukraine, Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia.
We'd have to come back to this at another time with actual stats, because
yeah, sure. But I'm just saying, I'm not just going to blanket ban. I'm not just going to, like, blanket deny systemic racism exists anywhere. Of course it does. I'm saying it doesn't exist in the free West. America, land of the free. I think it's one of the greatest countries in the world. And I think the only group you oppress is animals.
So, like, the fact that, like, Black people are statistically, like, higher crime rates, like, you don't think the poverty rate being disproportionately affecting Black people is an example of systemic racism?
Not at all.
Why?
Because what's the reason for the poverty rate? Do you think it's white people causing that?
The history of racial oppression in this country. The fact
so then why are Asians and Jews absolutely balling in the States, given the hell they went through in the States?
Because we didn't enslave them for hundreds of years.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
No, we did not to the same extent.
Chinese people were enslaved, and even as late as the 1940s, they were referred to. Japanese and Chinese were referred to as yellow apes, and they're forced to sleep in stables.
I'm not saying we didn't oppress them. I'm saying
they were brutally oppressed, Catherine, and now they are balling. They tried to wipe Jews off the face of the fucking earth in Europe, and they're balling in Europe now. So poverty, oppression.
So you do think it's inherent to the fact that they're Black is the why?
No, there are cultural issues that cause the crime rate. Yes, so fatherless households is the main one.
And what is the cause of fatherless households?
Well, here's what you do, Catherine. You take your pee-pee and you insert it into a. Do I need to talk to you about the birds of the bees, Catherine?
Oh my God, this is the most condescending shit ever. Shut the fuck up. Like, what is the cause of fatherless homes? You know what I meant when I asked that question.
Fucking people without a condom on. Do you know how biology works, Catherine?
Why do you think... So do you think Black people are just, like, inherently irresponsible with, like, birth control?
Not inherently. I don't use this word inherently, but there's obviously something going on that is called that people are responsible for their own actions. Whose fault is it if someone nuts in someone without a condom? Is it that person's or is it the government's?
It's structural, like, environmental reasons lead to people's, like, to differences in.
And this is the difference between the left and me. I don't believe in structural reasons for nutting in someone without a condom. You do. If you want to blame the system for people nutting in people and then running off, that's up to you. I'm not going to believe that, Catherine.
All right, we're going to have a whole other debate about what the real problems are in the world, and capitalism and like environmental factors that cause these various.
Okay, right. Let's read the super chats, Catherine, because we got 2 minutes left. Right, religiosity, done at $20. Thank you so much. Do you think Gary's position on being a Judeo-Christian man comes as an advantage or an impediment to the movement? History has proven from time immemorial that Jewish people are the most sacred on the planet. I'm not sure I know exactly what the question means, but comes as an advantage. I think if he says Gary Yourofsky is not practicing Jewish, he's just ethnically Jewish. I think it's an advantage if we have religious people in the movement, though, like Cam Waters, who made Christspiracy. So I don't know if that answers the question. Catherine, did you want to answer?
No, I don't care about that question.
All right, next question is from Kane. He donates £2. Thanks, Kane. He says, tell Catherine about the intersectional bullshit in the UK. Boop. All right, so he knows who I know who he's referring to here. I don't want to name them or speak too much about them. I don't think I don't know. I don't really know, Kane, if Catherine has any business answering this question, because I don't know if Catherine knows who this person is. Basically, there's an intersectional in the UK who's a trans woman who recently posted a status saying that they coerced someone into sex back in the day. I guess the question is, why has there not been maybe the cancellation for this person that we've seen for people like, I don't know, certain other people whose names I won't mention in the movement? Maybe that's Kane's question. Any thoughts on that?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool. And then the last question from Kane is, he donates £2. He says, why doesn't Catherine know about BLM stuff when George told her?
We already talked about this. Like, I don't accept your framing.
But I will say, Catherine, you've had enough time to look at what's happened with it. Like, so when we had that debate on Debug Your Brains channel, I mentioned about Quintez Brown and stuff on that, and I mentioned the scamming with the money. That was like 2 years ago now. You should know by now that BLM did that.
I don't know enough about that. I mean, I could have been spent my time specifically looking up Quintez Brown and BLM, but we agreed to a debate about Charlie Kirk and a bunch of other things. So, like, I don't know what you want me to say.
All right,
like, I'm not gonna be able to prepare like for every little fucking insane thing that you've ever said, and like I'm not just gonna. You could be right again, but like I'm not just gonna accept your framing of things when you've clearly demonstrated like that you accept like incredibly misleading framing on various other things that I do know about. So
right, and then the last question is from Marcel Orandia. He says, GM, if you are opposed to intersectionality, why do you continue to engage in political nonsense that is irrelevant to the animals and gives intersectionals more ammo? Stop the right-wing intersectionality. You know what? I should have actually talked back in the Charlie Kirk thing about why I actually believe this to be relevant to animal rights. So I'll just very, very briefly say my piece. If we have a movement where people are convinced that people are fascists just for being normal, for having normal opinions, that's not going to get anyone in the movement. The other thing is it puts our own activists in danger. You have to remember that people on the left think vegans are racist and fascists, and they throw these words around just because we want, indigenous people to go vegan or whatever. I don't want Earthling Ed to do a fucking campus talk in the US. Look, there's that racist colonizer, Earthling Ed. So, yeah, I think the things that I bring up are where it matters in the ways they impact animal rights.
Yeah, but the leftist intersectional vegans say the exact same thing, yet you won't admit that like you're just like this commenter said, just admit you're a right-wing intersectional.
I'll tell you the difference, Catherine. The stuff that intersectionals say that are somehow relevant aren't relevant in any way at all. The stuff I say is. Some guy dying in Minnesota has fuck all to do with animal rights.
No, but it is relevant in like various ways. Hold on a second. Like the fact that you bring it up is relevant because it's like a free speech issue or whatever. Like there are a bunch of reasons why like systemic oppression is relevant to animal rights that you just ignore. And you also regularly will like get mad at intersectional vegans for bringing up other topics, and then like you refuse to, like you bring up other topics all the time, like BLM, George Floyd. You just admitted, or you think that those things aren't relevant, yet you talk about them. You talk about your stance on Israel. Which you get mad at intersectional vegans for talking about Israel because you think that it's irrelevant, yet you talk about it. It's like
I'm responding to those people.
No, your position is not consistent. And like,
it is.
It's not actually the fact that they bring up human issues that bothers you. It's the fact that we hold left-wing positions on these issues that bothers you.
No, because I hold left-wing positions on certain issues. I'm a centrist.
You have a eclectic belief system. I'll give you that.
All the bullshit in our movement comes from one side. All the bullying, all the you have to have my exact view on this, or you're not vegan. You have to do this. You have to donate to this organization to be vegan. All of it, 100% comes from the left, Catherine. So I'm always responding to these fucks. If there were right-wing intersectionals in the movement and they said, where is your post speaking up for the murder of Charlie Kirk? Hey, you there, Animal Sanctuary, donate to Turning Point or we're going to cancel you. I'd be going hard on those fuckers. I'm just doing that with but they don't do it, Catherine. It all comes from the Boko Haram cult.
It's not bullying. Like,
it absolutely is bullying.
George, you can just ignore these people like I do.
That could be a good idea for a lot of them. I do admit that maybe I get drawn into it a lot. But sometimes, Catherine, I have no
But it's not just that you're responding to them. It's not just that you're responding to them. Like, you do often bring it up yourself.
I bring it up because it's relevant.
Yeah, but that's the same thing that, like...
Well, to quote you, Catherine, I'm right, but they're wrong. So there we go.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Right, I think we'll end the stream there, Catherine. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
And yeah, you have a good day, yeah? Peace out. All right, thanks, guys, for watching. And I'll just see if there's any more comments coming in here. George Floyd was not vegan. Yeah. Those insane intersectionalists kept calling Gary a non-vegan. Yeah, so because he doesn't agree with them on a certain human issue, he's saying that then they will say that they're not vegan. There's no right-wing equivalent of that. I've never seen a right-wing person in our movement say, if you think that systemic racism does exist, you're not vegan. If you don't donate to Turning Point, you're not vegan. This is a violation of vegan values. Right, you had to have your black square and your profile pic to be vegan. Again, there was just no right-wing equivalent of this. Oh, shit, we missed Sardar's comment. Well, Catherine's gone, so I guess we can't do that. Sorry, Sardar. I would have said something nice if Catherine was still around. All right. Cool. He's pointing out how intersectional ideology is damaging veganism. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't just bring up these issues for the hell of it. I bring up these issues because they fucked over the movement. 2020 was a massive example of that. Even during the COVID stuff as well, we had people telling activist groups not to go out. Don't go out. It's COVID. You'll infect people. Hey, AV, don't go out on the street and tell people to go vegan. But then the BLM rioters, they fucking encouraged to go out. Double standards. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for watching. And yeah, I stand by my point that Charlie Kirk was absolutely not a fascist at all. I think he had very, very strong anti-fascist principles, believed in small government, free market, freedom of press, freedom of speech. He was pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment. He didn't want people disarmed, which is what fascist governments do. Not that I'm giving a position on gun control there. I'm just saying that was Kirk's position. And yeah. And yeah, I think Gary's return is great as well. And yeah, people say worse things than Gary's ever said. People do worse things than Gary's ever said. So I don't see why people are so hung up on hating on Gary for shit that he said. As Gary said, I don't understand why I don't understand why my words are worse than people's actions. Never did I think that would ring truer than the intersectional stuff that we have today. So, all right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And yeah, we'll see you next time.